podcast that you ever needed. Sports cards after hours, keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live, and none could ever beat it. Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards, and we live now. Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to the PWCC Premier Auction Extended Bidding Watch Party. It is Thursday night, December the 15th, 2022, and my name is Jeremy Lee. I'm going to let you all know some upcoming shows on the channel. This Saturday on Sports Cards Live, Raymond Lee of Veriswap will be coming on, and then I'm planning to do an after-hours late-night show where I will share my top 22 pickups of 2022. And then Sports Cards Live, a special night, December the 20th, will be Lane Pierce. He is the founder of 130 Point. He will be joining the show on this Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern. I would like to shout out my co-host and the BCF Mag, bcfmag.com. Check that out. Subscribe to the magazine if you have not yet. Also want to shout out Karn Rai of the Big Three Hockey. He will be joining us as a special guest a little bit later during the show. As always, I do want to thank all of our subscribers, viewers, podcast listeners. I say it every show. I'm going to continue to say it because it continues to be true. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you and everyone who voted for Sports Cards Live as your second favorite podcast on the Lucas, Tigers, and Bronze Oh My Instagram account annual awards. I greatly, greatly appreciate that. With those opening remarks, let's get to the show and bring out our co-host. There he is, Mr. Adam Gray, Editor-in-Chief of Basketball Card Fanatic, content creator at PWCC. How are you? I know it's your favorite day of the year. I'm going to say it before you do. How are you, buddy?
Favorite day of the month, but you're right. It's actually one of my favorite days of the year too, because why, Jeremy? Why?
Premier Auction.
It's my anniversary. I've been married. I've been married today for 16 years, and I could think of no better way to celebrate than to hang out with you. No, yes, I love hanging out with you, but my wife took one for the team tonight for sure, my friend.
Well, give her my regards and thank you. I think that's very flexible of her, and hopefully you do something very nice with her either last night or tomorrow. You got to make it up to her, and I'm sure you will. You're a great family man. There's no doubt about that. Yes, I said favorite day of the year. I meant favorite day of the month, and these are always a lot of fun. This month's auction, Adam, it's a lot more manageable for us as hosts of the show because there's 282 lots this month, which is down from 442 last month, 439 in October, and 436 in September. So we've got about a 35% decrease in lots. Is it the holiday season? Are people looking to hang on? What are your sort of opening thoughts on this? We were kind of steady there for over 400. Now we're down to under 3. Maybe the show won't go quite 3.5 hours tonight, but your opening comments or thoughts on that sort of sudden change?
Yeah, I think we talked about it maybe last month or maybe the month before. December is always a light month. There's a perception in the hobby that stuff sells for less during December. And what's interesting is it's one of those sort of, it can be like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sometimes less stuff goes up and people stop looking as much. And sometimes it does go for less. But what I think we've seen other years is sometimes December is the best time to buy because less people sell. And so the stuff that is available ends up doing really well. We'll see what happens tonight. I have no idea whether it will be high or not, but it's definitely in line with what our expectations were.
Yeah, good. I think that, it makes sense to me. I'm not surprised. I don't think that it's a telltale sign of too much other than maybe people are just looking to hold on. I think holding on to cards is a good thing. Like, if you don't want to let a card go if you think that you're not going to get as much as you like for a card, maybe you don't sell it. But now what that does is it decreases the supply. Simple economics. There are fewer cards to go around this month. The question is the buyer pool going to be lower than previous months? Is it going to be higher or is it going to be the same? As long as it's not lower, we should see some good results tonight. But hey, we won't know until the final minute window of extended bidding ends, probably about 3 hours or so from now, maybe a little bit more. So we will see. Everybody needs to recognize as well. First of all, and welcome to the show. If you're just joining us now or in the last couple minutes, extended bidding starts in 25 minutes. What that means is you need to get your bids in You need to get initial bids in. Look at the ticker right now. Initial bids must be placed before 7 o'clock Pacific in order to qualify to bid after 7 o'clock Pacific. And you have to bid on every lot that you're interested in buying. 282 lots tonight. And then we go into the extended bidding windows, which for the first hour lasts 5 minutes. The second half hour after that, 2 minutes each, and then a minute after 8:30 Pacific. And that's, there's a lot of action in extended bidding every month. We seem to experience that. So get those bids in. Adam, let's go to some comments. We've got a few so far. We got over 50 people with us. So again, welcome everybody to the show. Mod Cult dropped this comment half an hour ago. Hopefully you're still here and good to see you. Vintage Card Collector. It's that time. Best show of the month, hands down. Let's talk cards. We would tend to agree. The Loud Collector is here. I believe he's in Atlantic time, so it's like tomorrow by now. Welcome to the show. Stale Prod is here. Joe Perot is here. Paul Santos, Scott Pope, Loud Collector. Thanks your wife as well, Adam. That's really nice of you, Mr. Loud. And we have my friend Studio Sports is here as well. Good evening to you. So there's a bunch of cool cards. Every month there's a bunch of cool cards in this auction, Adam. One of them in particular I'm going to talk about because I can see it right there, right under my picture. We've got the LeBron James 2003 Topps Chrome Gold Refractor, numbered out of 50. It's a BGS 9. And I'm particularly interested in this card because, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, Adam, in our pre-show on Instagram Live, this card right below my shirt there recently was the featured piece in a big transaction that was the subject of a video on Sports Card Investors YouTube channel, because Jeff Wilson acquired that card from the man who's going to be our co-host or our special guest coming on a little bit later tonight, Karn Rai. And on that channel, they did the key pieces were the Topps Chrome Gold Refractor LeBron James out of 50, and the piece that went the other way was a PSA 10 Michael Jordan rookie, both of which are in this auction tonight. So I'm curious to see if this new data point, this new comp we're about to get on the Gold Refractor is going to indicate how that trade looks at this point in time. Any thoughts on that, Adam?
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to look at it. We talked in the pre-show about which card we would prefer to have, and we both said we would each individually prefer the LeBron card. I think it's kind of cool that the values might be different and one might be higher than the other at a given time, but that we can still say what we would like for our collection long term. And so I think the idea of like looking at the comps next to each other right after the sell happens, I think that's super interesting. And people might immediately sort of put their hand in the air and say, look, you can see who won. You can see who won the trade. But for me, if I was on either side of that, I would be thinking about it more from a longer term perspective. And we see it all the time where people can win in the short term and then lose big time in the long term. And so I don't know. I just know I'd love to have that LeBron card because you said it in the pre-show. It's one of the cards of the era. There's only 50 of them. So who was it who got that side? Was it Jeff or was it Karn? Remind me.
Jeff Wilson got the LeBron and Karn Rai got the Jordan. He got the Jordan. He got some cash. He got some other cards as well. With that cash, he went and bought a Connor McDavid Cup RPA. This all occurred, I believe at the Toronto Expo. So, he'll come on. He'll talk about it later tonight when he joins us in about an hour and a half or so. We'll hear his thoughts and his updated thoughts based on where the bidding is on this card tonight. So we'll see what he has to say. But yeah, that was it was a big trade, and I know that it was a lot of consideration by both parties. They didn't just it took hours and hours to negotiate that deal.
Have you ever made a trade like that before at that
in the $300,000 range? No, not even close. The biggest trade I ever made, Adam, was at the National this year with Justin, 6'10 Sports Cards on Instagram. He's one of the only guys in the hobby who's taller than me. He's literally 6'10. And that trade, and it was pure trade, no cash. The value going each way was $28,000. So I don't come close to 30 or 300. I'm 1/6 of the way there as my biggest value trade. How about you?
I'm not sure if I've ever gotten anywhere even near yours. I did a trade with our friend David Chow a couple of months ago, actually for a card that's sitting here right on my desk. I haven't been able to put it away since I bought it. since I traded for it, a card that I looked for literally for years. But that's about as big of a trade, I think, as I've made. I'd have to think about it some more. But yeah, I'm interested to hear from Karn, and it's fun to do this sort of comparison game that we sometimes do where we say, would you rather have this card or that card? Sometimes it's really different than what the values say. So that's fun.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Here, I'm gonna share my screen. There's a couple things I want to show. So first of all, we've got this Peyton Manning Essential Credentials now. I saw Nick at the Wharf did a post on this today saying outside of Peyton Manning 1/1 rookie cards and the future variation of this, which I believe is out of 7, Nick feels that this is his best rookie card. I agree. I have a thing. I have a thing for Essential Credentials, and Peyton Manning, Indianapolis uniform. I love this card here, and I just mentioned it because I see it on the ticker. It just got a bid up to $18,000 right now. As we scroll down, top row, no strangers to the top row, especially the Tom Brady championship ticket, auto PSA 8 out of 100, population 1 of 9, only one graded higher. It's at $440,000 plus 88. So this thing's already at $525,000. Next up, Adam, one of your favorites, and I mean mine too, Wilt Chamberlain, PSA 9, an absolute stunner of a card. It's, I own a copy of this in a 7.5. It's one of my favorites I have. So I'm curious to see what this does. Do you know offhand, Adam, what the last PSA 9 that was available or that was offered at public auction sold for?
Gosh, I don't know. I should know that. I don't often look up comps the way that I should. What I did look up on this, I think I remember this right, is there's 32 9s in the world. And, a lot of people might hear 32 and they might think, oh, that's a pretty big number compared to some of the things that we see. But Jeremy, in the world of vintage, to find a card that is not only vintage, but critically important to the sport, to have a pop 32 of that's the sort of card that you maybe see that once a year, maybe even less than that. And so we're pretty proud to have this one hit our auction tonight.
Yeah. And do you know off the top of your head, is there a PSA 10? There must be at least one.
I think there might even be 3. There's 2 or 3, I think.
Okay.
There's not
very
more
cool. And then you've got a LeBron exquisite RPA rookie patch auto with what seems to be a very nice autograph.
Very nice.
A very nice, somewhat, symmetrical 3-color patch, numbered out of 99. I mean, it's at $420,000. It's a BGS 9. It's a mint condition card. This card, I would be surprised if it's sold for anything less than about $800,000 based on what we've seen recently. And really, I think it should sell for more. But what I say should, and I think, I mean, listen, this is just me thinking, what would I expect to happen? But you just never know. This card could sell for less than that. It could go for $1.2 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million. We don't know. Tonight will be very telling as to where the market is on that card. What are your thoughts on the LeBron RPA?
As you were talking, I was thinking there's really like 4 components to the LeBron RPA that I think are important to recognize. And the fourth one I think will surprise you. The first is obviously the autograph. First and second are autograph and patch quality. Those ones really go without saying. A lot of these have autographs that skip or aren't as nice. Very few of them have patches that are as nice as this one. The third one is condition, and you can see on this one that it's a 9. The fourth one for me that I really care about on this particular card is provenance. Specifically, I want to know how long ago it was graded, because once it's been in that slab, I mean, it's been in the slab for such a long time. If you turn this one around, I don't know if you can quickly click on the back of on your back image that you've got here, but Jeremy tonight is using files to be able to show this so that we don't slow down, and so we're kind of going away from clicking directly on the item because we don't want to sort of have that bogged down. But if you look at the back of the slab on here, what you can see is this card was graded a really long time ago. Frankly, you can see it from the front as well because of the design of it. If I was buying this card, Jeremy, I would literally want a copy like this one. It doesn't get the super crazy premium for being a 9.5, which I personally wouldn't want to pay. I'd rather pay less for a 9. It has an awesome autograph, a wonderful patch, and it's been in this case since the 5 millions. I believe that's, is that 12 years ago? Is it more than 12 years ago? I think it's more. I think it's like 2008.
Are you referring to the serial number of the slab right here?
Yeah, somebody should fact check me on that real quick and find out when this card was put in this slab. The point is, it's been in it for such a long time. You add those other factors to it, and it's one of the nicer ones of the 99. I'd have to guess it's one of the top 15 to 20 copies probably in the world. And yeah, I mean, for that perspective, where the market's on the down, on the decline, and you know, we're seeing some stuff sell for a lot less than it did, and to get a premium copy come up right now might sort of be that sweet spot for somebody who's really like been looking to get into one for a long time, because you might get a little bit of a deal on it over what it was at even like 6 months ago or a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, currently sitting at $420,000 on PWCC platform. You're going to pay $84,000 in buyer's premium, so you're just over 500. You're just over $500,000 on that card right now. But yeah, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, Adam. It is, you know, the subgrades are very nice. The centering looks great. You know, I think there's I haven't seen all 99 of these, but that patch, I really like the patch on this one. You know, it's got a lot of the red or the maroon showing. So I like this. I like the card. It's way out of my league. So congratulations to the eventual bidder. We do have Vintage Card Collector helps us out right here. Says this LeBron was graded on August 4th, 2007. So I'm not sure what that really means, as other than when it was graded, how long it's been encapsulated. But that's 15 years ago already.
Yeah, it's 15 years ago. And the other way to think about it, Jeremy, is it came out in the later part of 2004. So that card has been in that case for all but 3 years since it came out of the pack. And it's somebody who wants to get a card who, like, I want to know that card has just not been touched by it, not been adjusted or altered in any way. That is such a reassuring fact to know how long it's been in that holder. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. That, for me, that's really important.
All right, so I'm going to talk to the Gretzky here. 1979 O-Pee-Chee, PSA 9. Population is, I believe, just under 100. It's in the 90s somewhere. This one has the PWCC Exceptional Eye Appeal designation, meaning that it's in the top 15% of PSA 9s that have passed by the PWCC desks. And we're going to do a deep dive into this one a little later. We're actually going to like zoom right in and have a look at the condition of the card, as we tend to do with Gretzky rookies on the show. It's at 120 right now. When you add 24,000 for buyer's premium, that brings it up to $144,000. But I want to show the Card Ladder all sales listing here, and you can see that the last 3 copies of this card all sold for $132,000. August, September, and September again. Before that, 144. Before that, 156. June, we have 111 in April, and 160 back in February. We can keep on going. The point is that, you know, and this is really important when it comes to this card. And you see, while we've had some stability in the last 3 sales, you'll notice that there was fluctuations down here. And I think a lot of it might, and I really emphasize might, have to do with the fact that not all PSA 9s are the same. Some are going to be prettier than others. Some are going to look a little bit less appealing than others. You know, 9 is a very restrictive definition of a grade. It's so there are degrees of 9s, and I wonder if this one can, which has the Eye Appeal designation by PWCC, how far will it exceed? How far will its price night exceed these last 3 that sold at 132? We know it's already past that at 144. How much further will it go, if at all? That's kind of something that I'm watching tonight, Adam, to see what's it going to do. So I can't wait to see what that ends at.
I got to tell you,
more bids.
I got to say, on our internal messaging system today, somebody said, just make sure that Jeremy talks about the Gretzky O-Pee-Chee. So just know that everybody loves to hear your rundown of that. I hope we get a chance later to look at, to diagnose the card a little bit like you usually do. But just know there's a lot of people out there that love that.
Appreciate that. And we will. Let's go to some comments, Adam. We've got CS in the house. Always love the show and insights. Thank you so much. Jordan Riker is here. Good evening, Jordan. Always nice to see you. Studio Sports says, love to see the Lego Star Wars helmets on the recent Instagram posts. I don't know. I've got some of those right there. I've just done some Lego in the past few months. What can I say? Joey Pucci says, what are your thoughts about the LeBron Topps Chrome? Well, since he posted that, we talked all about it. Welcome to the show, Joey. Toa, good to see you. Welcome to the show. Here to imagine what I would bid on if I had the money. How many of us are in that situation, right? Jordan wants to know, how many cards am I going for tonight? Jordan, I'm not bidding on any cards tonight, but I did favorite enough that I went into 2 pages of favorites. So I'm at like 28 favorites, cards that really do interest me, and we'll take a look at those. Jordan wants to know, Adam, what are your favorite cards up for auction tonight?
Oh man, there are so many. We highlighted a few of them in the intro. I love the Wilt, but the thing that the world that I sort of live in is this much lower end, maybe some of the lower end parts of the Premier Auction. I'll tell you one card that I think is just, or one item that's super interesting. Jeremy actually just went past it. That's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic. Can we look at this one for just a second, Jeremy? I guess we don't want to click on the slow it down, but so Ninja Turtles was created. We did some material on this. Ninja Turtles was created by co-creators, and this particular issue was actually owned by one, the Laird family, and signed by the other, Kevin Eastman. And it's the very first Ninja Turtles copy or comic book. I get there in the end. And then, when you combine that with the fact that it's actually the highest graded, the question that we've been asking is it the nicest Ninja Turtles book in the world? And people who are divided on that, some people feel like, oh, you could have one that's this way or that way, but it's one of the very nicest in existence. We're really proud to have it this month. So I would say that's one of the most interesting items, as is the Chansey Snap card, which is another non-sports card. But for me, if I was buying in this auction, Jeremy, that Wilt in a 9, I'm like really into vintage right now. That Wilt in a 9 to me would be a hard one to surpass, I think.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Same here, Adam. It's a phenomenal card all the way through. Stale Prod says Topps Chrome Gold LeBron is huge. Nick Martelli, pumped to see where cards finish tonight. Hey, that's every Premier Auction that we do. And I want to, so I know that the people at PWCC refer to the Premier Auction as the PA. It's the PA. So if I start to use that lingo just to save some words, you'll know what I'm talking about. Justin Bode wishes you a happy 16th anniversary. Adam, very nice. And Justin, nice to see you, buddy. Jordan says, 5 months after my trade of the National, how do I feel about it? As good as I did back then, Jordan, I think the markets moved together on the cards that I both gave up and received. Jeff Hart says, good evening, everybody. Looking forward to the action tonight. Hello, Jeff. Good to see you. He's a big fan. Jeff has like the #1 PSA set registry Hall of Fame basketball collection. So he wants to see what that card will do for sure.
That's right.
We have CS has joined us. Love how these nosebleed high-end cards aren't necessarily valued based on the general market. They can be massive. They can massively miss or exceed expectations. That's right. They can massively exceed or miss. We will see. The LA collection is here. What's going on? Good to see you. Vintage card collector. We did that. Sasha Parfanov, knowing the date adds provenance to the card's authenticity. So the date that the card was graded, which you can find on Beckett's website. Collector's Dream is here. Justin Bode, notice some things to look at on the Gretzky. Latrell Sprewell is here. What's going on? And Jordan Riker adds here's an interesting comment. Per the PWCC video of the LeBron RPA, I believe he's speaking about, there's a pretty visible crack in the case. If you bought that, would you have it reslabbed? Yes, I would. How about you, Adam?
Yeah, I would. The question that I would have, and this is the hard part, and this is why Jordan's asking it, you want to keep that provenance of the date on there. So what I would do is I would request Beckett. I would say, hey, can you reslab this, but can you keep it in with this original label? Because I want that to stay there. That's really important to me. And if it hasn't been fixed, that might be part of the reason why, is that somebody doesn't want to have that sort of move backwards. I don't know though. I don't know on that. That's a good question.
I don't know what the policy is either, but I would think that they would simply re-slab it and keep everything the same, unless the card's condition has changed in the 15 years that it's been in that slab, which would defeat some of the purpose of the slab itself. So I think that it should be. I would expect, if it was my card, that I give it to Beckett and they just hand it back to me with the same serial number, just new plastic. All I want is a new plastic holder for it. I'm not looking to change anything else about the item if it were me. That's for sure. So, but thanks for pointing that out, Jordan. And I think I showed pretty clearly there. I'll show it again where that crack is because it's obviously right here. So
hey, let me just say real quick, Jeremy, we're 5 minutes out from extended bidding, and we say this every month, but we always get people who complain about it afterwards. Guys, if you want to bid in extended bidding, you have to have an initial bid before it starts. And so, I love that everybody's, who's here is like participating in the show, but if you have anything you want to bid on, like prioritize that in your next 4 minutes, because after that, you won't be able to bid.
And I'll just keep it sitting right here. The LeBron has got a bid. It's now up to 440, the RPA that is. We'll sit here and watch the ticker as we go through just a few more comments. Ranchi888 says, I believe Jeff Wilson gave up about $288,000 US in trade value and cash for the gold LeBron. The one currently up on PWC is 180 USD. Is that before or after the? It's at 180 plus buyer's premium, so it's actually at 216 right now in terms of what the buyer has to pay. But I also don't remember what condition the one he got was. It might have been a 9.5. I'm not sure. So there may or may not be a little bit of additional information there. CS, is this the first auction that combines comics and cards? I don't recall seeing that. There have been comics before. There's also some video games. There's some Super Mario Brothers. There's Zelda cartridges in this auction, as well as PWCC goes into some additional verticals. The Currency Project says, any nice Ovies in the auction? No goals for him tonight. An assist, though. I'm not sure. I don't remember seeing, but there might be. Stale Prod says that Golden has a Topps Chrome BGS 9.5 up that plays into this auction too versus LeBron BGS 9. Teapot, welcome to the show. The LeBron Gold is a great card no matter where it ends. You got to seize those when they come around. That's so true. I mean, and he goes on to say Jeff isn't selling it today. Jeff made very clear that he's keeping that. That's a long-term hold. Hey, but we don't have to hold him to it. He can do whatever he wants whenever he wants. But these LeBron Gold Chromes, there's only 50 that exist. How many are actually floating around? How many are still in packs? How many did a kid not know what they had? Who knows? It's an exceptional card, in my opinion, anyway. So
if I had one, Jeremy,
see what happens.
If I had one of those cards, Jeremy, I'd never let it go. I'd never let it go because you don't get a card like that back. And to the person who wrote, it's only at basically 216 now. Yeah, but remember, we're just headed into extended bidding here in the next 2 minutes. A good percentage. I'd actually like to look at this. My guess is over half of the bids in the auction. I shouldn't say that because I could be wrong. A huge percentage, one way or the other, of the bids that happen in the auction are in extended bidding. And there is one of them right there. It just got bid up to 100 to 190. So we'll see where it ends at. But we've seen cards in this auction. I mean, we've seen cards go into extended bidding at 30 grand and end at $200,000. It happens. And so you just need two people who really want an item, and we'll find out at the end of the night what the market was willing to bear.
Definitely. Yep. CS says, will PWCC keep the eye appeal distinction if you reslab it? I would think it would first of all have to come across their desk again, be submitted to the vault, and then they would re-examine it. And if it does, it does. I don't know I think there's going to be some additional details that they would need to know in order to answer that question.
Great.
George, what do we have next? Let me see here. Welcome to the show, Tristan L. and Julian, Baseball Card Curmudgeon. Good to see all you guys. Mickey Mantle, 53, what I think is his prettiest card, gets a bid. Very nice card. Mahomes, always in the game. And there's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles magazine, Adam. That magazine, it's a comic book, issue number 1, autographed by Eastman, one of the creators of the whole property. Pretty amazing that this comic book is coming through PWCC. I think you guys deserve a congratulations for having it on the platform.
So let me say too, signed by Kevin Eastman, but is actually from the Laird family. Like, this was owned by Peter Laird. And so to me, that's the cooler part. The autograph with the little inscription of the turtle is really cool, but the fact that it was actually owned by one of the two creators makes it really like a one-of-a-kind type collectible. I know that there are some people who are really interested to see how that book does at this auction. And so, like I said, we'll see what happens through the night.
And I put up a post on my Instagram today because I was looking at the PWCC post, and I forget who at PWC, whether it was the PWCC account, showed that comic book, and it brought back some real nice memories for me, Adam, because my LCS in the mid '80s when I was a young teenager was located in the back corner of a card store. So you had to, of a comic store. So you had to walk through, it was called Book Fair. You had to walk through the comic section to get to the little carved out corner in the back of the store where there was a card shop called ABD Cards. And I remember when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out, and all the kids and teenagers that were in the comic store they were mad for this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I was like, what the heck is that? It makes no sense. I wish I had the foresight to have purchased a copy right off the rack, one of those original 3,000 copies, but lo and behold, I didn't. And I know a lot of people as well didn't, but very cool piece. There's a Babe Ruth autographed ball coming across our table right now, $10,000. Looks like a decent Babe Ruth auto. Oh, there's a card I know you love, Adam. The Incredible.
Let me jump in real quick. We just missed one that I really wanted to highlight. In fact, we were going to do a special video on this card this month. We didn't end up doing it because we kind of ran out of sort of space to be able to do it. But it's a card that a lot of people aren't even going to notice in this auction, Jeremy, and that is the Star Michael Jordan Rookie of the Year in a BGS 9 holder. That card is the last. So people don't know this, right? Everybody knows about the 101, right? Everybody knows about that card. But the Rookie of the Year card is one of 3 star cards that were made in the 1984 set. There's the Olympic card, there's the Rookie of the Year, and then there's the 101, which everybody knows about. What I think people don't realize is that card has really even worse centering on average than the 101 does. I did some research, okay? Guess what the average centering subgrade is on the Rookie of the Year? There have been almost 700 of them graded, so it's not a small sample. Guess what the average subgrade on centering on that card is?
8.
6.4. 6.4 is the average. And this one, I think if I remember right, it's an 8.5 or a 9. If you want to search Jordan Star, I'm not sure if that's what you're looking for, but Jordan Star 1984. It is in a 9. I think there were only, if I remember right, there were only 7 in the world. I recently got one graded by PSA because PSA is grading all 84 star cards now. They're not grading anything past 84, but they're grading 84. I got a 7. There it is. I got a 7 on mine. Jeremy, of all of them that have been sent this PSA so far, there are only 2 7s, and there are none higher. So I looked at this card here, and again, the centering is not perfect. But I looked at that card right there, and I thought, I'm not somebody who crosses, and I can't bid on PWCC cards anyways because I'm an employee. But that card right there, if there was ever a cross candidate, that might be an 8, or maybe, I don't know, it could be higher even. But even if it's an 8, it would be the highest one in the whole PSA population right now. And so I think that's an opportunity, and I think people are shocked maybe to see it as high as it is because it's not like a card that a lot of people know. But that to me is, I don't want to say it's a sleeping giant, but to me, to have a card that's as significant as that from the year it is, to find it in like really rare condition as far as its centering goes, it's a cool one.
I don't think it's a sleeping giant, and here's why. It's already at a price that is higher than both of the 101s, which is considered the XRC or the rookie card by a lot of people.
That's true.
They're lower graded, sure, but this card is not on a lot of people's radar. So it's maybe sleeping, but I don't think it's a sleeping giant. I think the fact that it's already 24,000 tells me that people are recognizing its importance, and we'll see if it gets any more bids. But for me, if I'm a buyer, I'm going to favor one of these 2 cards because it's considered the actual RC by many people, if not the XRC by original Beckett magazines and a lot of the hobby to this day. So curious to see what the difference in price is between the 8.5 and the 8 here. This has centering of 7.5. This has centering of 8. Looking at them here, they both seem to be centered pretty much the exact same. So just depend. Maybe this one's got a little bit of a shift to the little bit of a wider border up here than this one does. I think that's the case. Maybe that's a difference in the half a point in centering. But I've said it before. I'll say it again right now. If I don't own this card. If I did, I don't want it centered. I want my centering on the Star 101 Jordan to be about an 8, because that tells me that the card is left alone. It's in its original form, not trimmed, nothing like that. It's a nice, the way it was. I like that they're all off-centered, and so I want mine off-centered. Might sound crazy, but that's just the way it is for me. So
I love that take. And honestly, Jeremy, I would love a 101. I've only owned, I actually didn't own it. I brokered one that sold to a mutual friend of ours. But I sold to be clear, I actually sold my Rookie of the Year PSA 7 that I got to. So I'm not talking about it because I have one. I don't own that card anymore. But as I looked into that card and as I considered, it is his first year. It was made at the same time as the rookie card. And it's one of the nicest few in the world. This is where I would disagree with you. If it's a question of which one in average condition, of course I would take the 101. But if you get a chance to get, let's flip it around. If you had a chance to get the 101 in the highest grade in existence, you're looking at a card that's probably, if it's not $1 million, it's close to it, right? And a BGS 9.5 right now. So definitely comparing apples and oranges for sure.
I don't play in that $1 million card arena though. So for me, I'm going to be very happy with my BGS 8 or an 8.5 with 7.5 or 8 centering. And I'm done. I don't need anything nicer than that. And even those are out of my range now. So who are we really kidding? Look what just got a bid though. PMG Green, Emmett Smith, $25,000. That's a PSA 5. This card right here, it's a beauty. PMGs often have these different sort of graphics on them, and this one has a jet shooting right by. I mean, hey, there are airplanes in the sky when players play football. You often see them, so it's not as out of place as a Tiger was last time on the Barry Sanders card. But I really like that card. Kevin Durant, he's like not a guy that I collect or even like I'm interested in buying, but his cards do very well. Adam, what's the deal with Kevin Durant? How important is he to the collection of somebody who is looking to have great players represented?
Well, first I want to say I was hoping you were going to be bidding on the Emmett Smith tonight, so I'm disappointed about that to pair with your Jerry Rice from a few months ago. But to get to your Kevin Durant question, Kevin Durant is an acquired taste in the world of basketball cards and in the world of fandom, right? I think if I sit back and sort of like try to take like a really like unemotional like perspective on it, Kevin Durant's one of the greatest scorers of all time. He'll probably finish as one of the 5 or 6 highest scorers of all time. He's won multiple championships. He's been one of the names in the NBA for a long time. And look, he's multiple sort of like he's done pretty much everything that there is to do. He only has a few rookie cards that I think people really look at as iconic. We had 2 on the survey for the Iconic 100, both as exquisite and his chrome. Neither made the Iconic 100, but both finished in the top 150. So they're viewed very highly. But the thing that makes Kevin Durant's chrome rookies that you were just looking at, they're so interesting, Jeremy, he doesn't have a gold. And so what I think collectors do is they say, they go, do I gravitate toward, like really high-end collectors, do I gravitate towards the white one that's out of 99, that's the rarest, or do I get the orange, which I think is out of 199, so less rare, but it kind of looks more like gold? And that's what you're seeing right there in those 2 cards.
Okay, I appreciate all that information. I hope that helps somebody else out there as well. I want to say happy holidays to EJ Ferrer, who is one of the co-runners of the Burbank Card Show. EJ, great to see you. If you're still out there, buddy, welcome to the show. Toa makes a great comment. Speaking of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic that I'm like wishing I could afford to buy now, says owned by Lair makes that comic even more premium. The ultimate Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan would need that. Need in all caps. I mean, yeah, that's the copy that Eastman signed and gifted to Laird, or they traded it. Who knows what they did, but that is really an amazing piece. Definitely. Adam, Jordan Riker wants to know your thoughts on the Dirk Nowitzki SPX in tonight's auction. I'm not going to speak to that. I'm going to leave this one to you, Adam.
So Jordan and I have talked in the past about, correct me if I'm wrong, Jordan, we've talked about some of the key Dirk rookie cards. And there's a short list of which of his rookie cards are the best ones. This SPX Spectrum Parallel is on the list. The SPX Spectrum features some really sort of nice holofoil in the area that's typically sort of bronze. And there's 3 different versions. There's a regular version, a Radiance version, and this Spectrum version that's serial numbered out of 25. I would argue that the Spectrum, along with Jordan, the 24 karat out of Brilliance, numbered out of 24, and the Credentials and the Rubies are really like at the highest of high when it comes to big time Dirk Nowitzki rookie cards. So when I saw that pop up in the Premier, I got excited. We don't see a lot of Dirk Nowitzki in the Premier auction because frankly, he doesn't have a ton of stuff that sort of lives in this world. This is absolutely one of those cards that lives in that world. And the last thing I'd say about it is if you wanted to do like a really cool Dirk Nowitzki project and you had, a lot of money, like obviously a ton of money, it would be really cool to sort of come up with like the 10 rookie cards that are the hardest to find, the most like just the rarest ones. That 100% is on that list. And I think for some people it's a lot higher, like it's a top 3 or 4 rookie card of Dirk in existence. So those are my thoughts.
All right. No, great thoughts. Okay. I want to, first of all, I don't know the answer to this. LA Collection is asking if PSA is grading the 84-star jumbo cards. Adam, do you know the answer?
I don't. That's a great question.
Their website will likely tell you LA Collection. I don't know either. I'm going to say I doubt it because they're not grading anything after 84 regular size cards. I doubt it, but I just don't know. I want to go to Vintage Card Collector's comment right here. He says, I don't get the value of vintage wax packs. Would you rather have the GAI pack? And I think he's talking about with the one that I was kind of circling with my mouse a few minutes ago. This one right here. Look at it tick up to $27,000. This is the 57 Topps pack with which may have a Bill Russell rookie in it. But he says, would you rather have the pack or a PSA 657 Russell and $17,000 in cash? So I want to speak to that for a second because I think I know a bit about it because I collect vintage wax packs. So I can explain why I do and see if I can help vintage card collectors sort of get it. And really, it just comes down to the fact that the pack itself, to me, it's not about what cards are inside it. It's about the fact that you own one of those packs that all of us kids were opening in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I have every O-Pee-Chee hockey pack from 1970 to 1989. And I have a couple basketballs, a couple baseballs, no footballs. But this pack was the one item that I was wanting to buy in the auction tonight. And it just got to be, too expensive for me. It's already at over $30,000 with buyer's premium. So I'm out of the running, but I love this pack. Again, it's about the memento that it is, the artifact that it is, the relic that it is. It is not about what's inside the pack. And I think it's a testament. There are not many of them, but the question that Vintage Card Collector is asking though is what would you rather have? I mean, I don't know. I'd rather have both myself. I want to have the card and the pack, and I don't know that I'll ever have a pack because this is a 6.5. I looked at it. There's a little tear in the wrapper. That's gonna happen. The gum pokes through, can poke a hole. But I absolutely love this item, and this is the one item that I probably would want to have. It would fit so well in my collection. I have an unopened 61 Fleer pack. Might have a Wilt Chamberlain in it. It's in a GAI holder as well, and I've got the 80 Topps potential Larry Bird, Magic Johnson rookie, as well as the 86 Fleer Jordan. So I love these things, and again, that's what it's about. It's like Toa says right here: the pack and the card are two different things, and that's how I, as a collector, look at it. Adam, any comments you'd have on that?
I think you said it perfectly, and I want to redo my question from earlier when somebody asked what my favorite item was. It isn't going to sell for as much as other things. This might be my favorite item in the auction, and I say that because I tell you, I got this one in hand. I did the video on this. If you want to go check out the video for anybody else who's watching, I got this in hand, and I almost just sort of like, I don't know, like I get some items in hand and I just smile, Jeremy, because I'd never seen this pack before. I looked it up on PSA's website because I don't think the GAI pop even exists anymore publicly. On the PSA pop report, I think there's like 8 of these in existence or 10 or something. It's a really low number. And with all due respect to the 61, that is a great set. The 57 set is the grail of like unopened packs. I mean, other than 48 Bowman, which I don't even know if one exists.
Well, and I can tell you that this pack is currently selling for over $30,000. I bought my 61 Fleer pack. I got it this year. I bought it at the Bullpen in Los Angeles from Mitch and Ty down there. And I don't even remember the grade. Like, I don't even care about the grade, but it's definitely higher than a 6.5. It's probably a 7.5 or an 8. I don't remember what the grade is, but I paid much, much, much less than $27,000. So, I don't know if that's a population thing, a rarity thing, or because it must be that there must be more 61s, because really there's only a 4-year difference in the two there's only a 4-year difference in the two products coming out. So I don't know. I mean, the 57 Topps has one major card, being the Russell, and then you got the Koozie and a few on the what's his name, Dolph something or other. You've got a few more, but the 61 Fleer, you've got Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, and Wilt Chamberlain, and who's the fourth I'm forgetting, Adam? There's a fourth big name in there, Elgin Baylor. Yeah, so I don't know. I love it personally. I think that's obvious by now. I'm going to close this window because I think it's kind of
slowing us down.
Slowing down the connection with that video in the background. So,
hey, can we look at a controversial item? Would that be okay?
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about. So let me find that. Are you talking about the LeBron?
I'm talking about the LeBron.
Yeah, let me bring that up in the background here. And while it's loading, Paul did ask if we could take a look. Hold on, it's just loading for me. Can we discuss the possible Steve? We can take a look at that for sure. Thank you for that comment, LA Collection. Appreciate that. Jeff Hart says the 57 Topps pack is amazing, so rare and important, as he would definitely know. Who knows? Maybe he's going for it. Teapot says my favorite cards from this auction are the Curry and the Mahomes, but that Babe is amazing. I think he's talking about the stand-up pose from 1933. I think. Nick Martelli says, does SGC grade unopened packs? I'm not sure. Brendan Ryan says, is the potential of the big card enough, or the actual card itself? The value is the question. To me, the value is the pack, not the cards inside. It's a different item altogether, but that's just me. CS says, agree, the vintage wax pack literally takes you back in time, special all by itself. I don't know if you grew up when I did. I was a kid in the 80s and even in the late 70s. I opened these packs by the handful and I shoved the gum in my mouth till I couldn't chew anymore. Like, this is my childhood. These were the things I loved the most were sports cards in the 80s. So I have a big nostalgic connection to unopened packs. It runs deep in me for sure. Nick Martelli says one of my favorite packs is the 87 Topps baseball. The colors are just awesome, very good. And Jeff Hart gives us some population information on the 57 Topps basketball pack, saying that there are less than 5 of them that he knows of, all in GAI holders. Sasha can't find any public sales of that pack. There was also a large find of 61 boxes a while ago, which has given away way more 61 packs. So that's really interesting right there. A 57 baseball pack recently sold for $10,000. Says there are 8 PSA 57 packs in the population report. Thank you for that, vintage. And Jeff Hart says the last pack really ever sold in 2019 for $17,000. So Justin Bode wants the pack as well. Okay, so let's take a look now, Adam, at the card that you were. And I'm just going to look at. We're going to look at it on the big screen here. But here you go. We are talking about this LeBron James 2003 exquisite limited logo. We have an on-card auto. We have what it was at one time, I believe to have been a game-worn patch, but you'll notice that it's in a Beckett blue label and it says authentic altered. It says altered patch right under here. So there's no hiding the fact that this card is no longer in its original form. And with that, Adam, I'm going to turn it over to you.
You did a great job of sort of introing the card. Yeah, the card is the limited logos from 2003. And when it came out of the pack, it has, as it says on the back, which we would look at right now if we could, it did say that it had a game used patch. But there's a problem. And that problem is that somewhere along the way, somebody took this card, they removed the game used piece of patch, and they added to it this patch that was probably from a jersey they got at Walmart or something like that. And so it's interesting to me because this is one of the LeBron James cards. There's only 75 of them. It has a perfect autograph. It's the real deal as far as the card goes, but the card has been altered and we all know it, right? So my question on a card like this is, and this is what I really want to know from you, Jeremy, like, is this a card that you look at and think, I just could never have it in my collection? I can't do it, full stop. It's altered. I don't want it. Or would you look at it and say, gosh, the real deal, if it was a real deal card, we're talking about a several $100,000 card. What is your thought? Interested to hear your take.
Yeah, happy to. And believe it or not, my response is neither of the options you presented. There is a third option, which I'm going to present to you right now. So I actually do have two fake, I call them fake or altered patch cards in my collection. I acquired them both unknowingly, and I still have them. The first one I bought many, many years ago, and someone then sent me a picture of the before, and I said, oh, this card it was a dual patch. One of them was replaced. It was a Joe Thornton, Joe Sakic card. The Joe Thornton patch was replaced. The Sakic stayed intact. And somebody presented me with an original scan or photo of the card. I kept it. What else am I going to do with it? I kept it because I'm never going to put it for sale. And I wanted an example of a really well done, non-authentic patch card. The second one I got in a big collection I bought. I had no idea. It's a Upper Deck Ultimate Premium Swatches, Evgeny Malkin from the Pittsburgh Penguins. It's got a beautiful patch. I thought it was legitimate. I actually sent the card. It was in on my ComC account, and somebody saw it and sent me a message and said, hey, that card is fake. But he couldn't present me with any photographic evidence. I happened to know the person. I said, how do you know? He said, I remember it. I have it in my log. I said, all right. So I took it off for sale, and it's actually right now on its way being shipped back to me, and it's going to go in my collection right next to my other fake patch card. And I'm going to keep them and never offer them for sale, but I'm certainly going to take them to card shows with me and show people how well crafted a non-authentic patch card can be. The third little story here is that at the Burbank show earlier this year in September, I came across a card. It was a Jonathan Taves The Cup RPA. I looked at it. I knew immediately the patch was fake. And I said, listen, this card here, do you want the good news or the bad news? And the bad news being you have a fake card in your showcase. The good news being I can prove it to you because I had a before picture because I had an archive on that card. And I tried to buy the card off him. He wanted, I think the vendor wanted $1,200. And I was willing to give him $300 for the card to take it out of circulation, add it to my other two fake patches, and just add it to my fake patch collection, never to offer it for sale again. He turned me down, said that he wasn't willing to lose that much money on the card. I was like, well, okay, but if you ever sell it, we know we know that you sold a bad card. So my answer to your question, Adam, is I don't think it's worth any. I don't attribute any value to fake patch cards, but I'm willing to buy them for the right price, to take them off the market, add them to my collection, and start a bit of a museum. I mean, I know there's thousands of them out there, and I'd only have 2 or 3 or 4 maybe if I can find another, but I'd still want to own it because of that. Does that answer your question? Make sense? Yeah, it does. I would just say this is one of those times where I love your take. I'm different than you are.
I love your take because it's you. You are so particular about so many things, and I think most people on this card would do exactly what you're saying. They'd say it's an altered patch. I don't want any part of it. Write it off. It's a dead card to me. I look at this card and what I see is a card that has been altered that is a small fraction of what the card itself if it was unaltered would be worth. I am never going to be able to afford a LeBron James limited logo. I'm never going to be able to buy one. It's too much money. It's six figures. It's crazy. This is one of those 75 cards. It's been altered. I get it. But to me, the reason that it still sits at $14,000 right now is because it obviously still has value to people. Now, the thing that I think that we're seeing, there's some people who are pointing this out in the chat. Somebody said that Brendan Ryan said that could mean, at one time the LeBron card was in one of those screw down bricks. Altered could mean anything. No, this is a fake patch. It is a fake patch, period. Full stop. It is a fake patch. People don't like to hear this. It's a great looking, incredible patch. It is, but it's fake. It's not game used. It wasn't original to the card. It is an alteration in every sense of the word, and we can't be ambiguous about that. It is 100% an altered card, and Becca has called it out, and we have called it out, and it is an altered card. Having said that, there are lots of altered cards that have real value. Should we walk through, maybe the most valuable card in the world is altered in the original Honus Wagner. Can we talk about all of the PMG green or PMG Jordan cards that are altered? These are cards that have been adjusted by people that should never have been adjusted by people, but they still have real value. And to me, as long as the buyer knows what they're getting, they should be able to pay what they want to for it. And I feel really strongly about it. So
I have, Adam, I agree with everything you just said. I have no issue with this card being offered on PWCC. I have no issue with this card being slabbed as authentic altered by BGS. The card, the cardboard, the foil, the card itself is authentic. The autograph is authentic. It's the patch that somebody pulled out and put in a new one that is not authentic. So that's it. I would buy this card. Don't get me wrong. I would buy this card. I would pay $1,000, maybe $2,000 for it, but I would not pay a penny more personally to have this card because it would be cool to be a part of a fake patch collection, but it's to me not cool. I mean, listen, if this card was not altered and it's then worth $200,000 instead of say 20, and you are doing the set or you want every LeBron James limited logos, but you cannot afford 200,000, this is a nice substitute for that. As long as the buyer knows what they're getting, in this case, they do. There's no way you can't know. And I shouldn't say that. Maybe you can't read. In that case, maybe you don't, but you should know by the blue label, unless you're also colorblind, then then maybe you need some help buying cards anyway. But in any event, I have no problem with the card being offered. And I would buy it for maybe $2,000, Adam. I would pay that kind of money for this card because it is a LeBron James rookie year limited logos, except with a fake patch or an altered patch. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to rest up here with the ticker while you jump in.
Yeah. So the last thing I'll say on it, and I think that this is a fair point. The people who have said that they don't think that this card should be for sale, sometimes what people will say is, well, somebody might break it out of the case and then try to sell it as, an authentic jersey. And for that reason, it should be taken out. By that same sort of logic, we shouldn't sell any card because any card can be altered. Any patch card can have the patch taken out. Anything can happen. But this card has been, authenticated as real with the really clear warning that it's not a real patch. And so to me, it's one of the most interesting cards in the auction because the person who ends up with it, it's like, what are they getting it just because they want to be able to fill the void in their collection, fill their spot in the set, that sort of thing. That's why I would want it, is because I would love a really cool LeBron James rookie autograph, and that card's a whole heck of a lot more unique than getting a lot of different autographs. And I get all the altered stuff. I think the only altered card that I have in my collection is this Mikan that I've been showing off here. But so I totally get it. But I think people are really off when they say, oh, you shouldn't offer cards like that for sale. If you clearly state what it is, I think as long as there's really a buyer for it, I think that's all you can do.
Yeah. What happens with the card after it's sold? And that is a bit of a dilemma right there. And I saw a question here or a comment. I think Teapot made it. Really interesting comment regarding the same card here. He says, "Let me ask this insane question: what if the LeBron altered copy was purchased and replaced with a certified game used patch in it?" So someone actually had a game used LeBron patch and put it in there. Listen, it's still altered. It still is not as it came out of the pack. For me, I like cards the way they came out of the pack, with a couple of exceptions, one being peeling chromes with peel. I like a peel. I think cards that come out of a pack with peel look better unpeeled. I know you don't, Adam. I know you don't. I know many people don't, but I'm just saying I like cards pack pulled versus, sheet cut later or whatever. So interesting stuff. I want to go to this question here, Adam, from Joe Perot. He says, "Do you have any thoughts about the different Ja Morant National Treasures cards? Pretty big price differential, but he actually likes the G patch better." So I'm going to just sort of take that off the screen for a second, see if I can find those cards as we scroll through. This is the LeBron James search, so we're going to have to close out of that. This might take a second. Is there anything else you want to sort of just mention while we're looking for these for these two Ja Morant cards? And we're also going to take a look at that second-year Gretzky card as well.
Oh yeah, good call on
there's the R patch. Sorry, Adam. I just want to point out there's the R patch. So for 140,000 BGS 9.5 Ja Morant, and the other one, please be on this page. There's another G patch, Ja Morant, but that's probably a different card. So I'm not sure. I'm not going to keep. Go ahead, jump in.
One's out of 5. The Emerald is out of 5, and other than the Logo Man, like the out of 5 RP, I think a lot of people think of that as being like a second best card of a player. So outside of the Logo Man, it's the best card. And that, to me, you've got these really high end collectors that are looking to put together full rainbows, like basically the full run of the different variations of a given card. The number 5, Joe, that's just not a card you're going to see up for auction very much. So in that case, I think it becomes more about what the card is rather than like the patch.
There you go, Mr. Joe Perot. Let's go back to the top and see what bids are coming in. Even just looking right here, nothing seems to have moved too much on this row. I think this went up by about $10,000 or $20,000. The Gretzky is holding tight. We're up to 150 on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This card is at 170, and as I showed earlier, the last few sales were 228, 276, and 468. Card Ladder has an estimated value of 225. So again, I'm just going to go here. 170 plus 35. It's just over $200,000 right now, $204,000. So it's getting into that territory, Adam, of where the last few sold for.
Yeah. That was one of your favorite cards to watch for the day.
It is because of the sales history. Because of the sales history, it is. I mean, I remember when the first PSA 10 came to market, it did like $600,000. The first one in since the boom, 600,000 down to the twos. Where is this one going to end? Is it going to end at the 204 that it's currently at, or is it going to climb closer to 300? We don't know, but that's kind of why we watch the top here, because this is where we see the bids coming in as they do. So we will we'll have to just wait and find out what that ends up doing. Teapot here makes the comment, Adam. He says, I know you aren't big soccer guys, but I can't wait to see Eminence Soccer on here someday. Yeah, I mean, the Eminence are some beautiful cards. Any comments? I know you love Eminence, Adam, from a basketball perspective.
Well, sure, but we actually have seen Eminence Soccer cards, from the first year of Eminence Soccer. Maybe I'm unaware. Is there a new Eminence Soccer that's coming out? I think Ty's probably talking about the first year, and we have seen some of those. We've seen some Messis and some Peles and some of those big cards out of the original Eminence Soccer.
Okay, so I'm just gonna, Adam, I'm gonna ask you to figure out something to talk about while I want to bring up the 72 basketball box and the second year Gretzky, the 1980 Wayne Gretzky PSA 10, because first of all, as comments were made, so here we go. to bring this up because we've had 2 comments regarding unopened boxes. So Mid-Atlantic says, how about some love for the 72 Tops basketball? But yeah, how about it? I mean, it is beautiful. I love unopened product. This seems to be wrapped by Baseball Card Exchange. That's where you want that's the authenticator you generally want for unopened product. $18,000, 24 packs in this box. These are really cool display pieces. I mentioned earlier, I collect unopened packs because you can buy them for a fraction of the price of a box. And it's really what I'm interested in personally is the pack. I think they're a little smaller, but the boxes are super cool. And of course, I think they're, investment worthy because it's just original. You don't know what you're getting, but you kind of do know you're going to get whatever, a complete set or close to complete set or X amount of this guy's rookie or that guy's card. So I think that unopened wax is one of the coolest things. I don't collect it, but I think it's really cool. So there's some love for that, Mid-Atlantic. I hope that kind of satisfied what you were asking for. I'm going to go to Nick Martelli's comment here, Adam. He says, love your thinking and education aspect with I love your thinking and the education aspect you have with that take being the having fake patch cards to show people. It's needed, especially with fraud in the hobby. Yeah, definitely. We have to do what we can do to defend against anything that's nefarious. And just like anything else, there's nefarious activities in our hobby. You don't have to go too far to learn about them either.
Hey, can we talk about the 72 box a little bit more?
Yes, please go ahead.
So I learned a couple things on this one that I thought were interesting in sort of researching it. And I think we've talked about this before, but when I do the videos for each of the items that are on the auctions, sometimes we need to do a little bit of research and sort of understand what's important about the item. This 72 box, if I remember correctly, the Baseball Card Exchange label actually talks about some elements of the box when it was wrapped and where it came from. If I remember right, and I know we sold one of these a few months ago, so I might be foggy on this. I believe this one on the back of the box, it actually suggests when it came out of the case that it originally came out of. So a case was opened and those boxes were each wrapped by Baseball Card Exchange. And so I thought that was kind of a cool element. The other cool element about this one, and this one's better known, but I think it's still really interesting. 72 is the year of Julius Erving's rookie card. Julius Erving it's a high number. It's like 150 or 180 PSA 9 rookies. Jeremy, he has one PSA 10, just one. And if that's the sort of card that you'll probably never see at auction again. But if you were to see it at auction again, it would be an absolute spectacle. It would be a huge, huge deal to see that at auction. You'd love to see another 10 graded. And you'd think at this point, if that was ever to be possible, that this would be the way. You'd have to get one that was just I'm not saying it's likely. I'm not saying it would happen. I'm not saying that, I don't know if it's 1 in 1,000 or what, but like if there's another 10 to come out, I think at this point, it'd probably be out of an unopened box like this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it'll be really cool to see another one of those, definitely. Okay, I want to see if I saved the image. I did. So there's a comment that came in here from a Vintage Card Collector about the Jeter. Says, let's have a look at it up close. There's wear on the bottom edge and left back edge. I don't think there's any chance that it grades a 10 today. Poor 10 in my opinion. So well, let's take a quick peek. I do have the image right here. I'm going to share my screen now, so we're all looking at it together. And so the comment speaks to the bottom edge. So let's zoom right in. We can do that and see what we got going on here. So, I mean, I'm seeing a little bit of edging, but like even this little thing right here and this little thing right here, if you guys can see where my mouse is, I don't know. It's hard to say if that is as bad as it looks. I don't know that it is. It could be, tough to say what that is. The edge doesn't look that bad to me, but then like over here, the edge looks cleaner on the blue and on the blue here. So again, I don't know if that could legitimately be light reflecting off the edge of the card and not actual edge damage. And I say that it might, because, and I have a bit of knowledge on the way light refracts off of shiny cards now, based on what I do for a day job. And that might be the case there, because you look at this edge, it looks a lot cleaner. That might just be the photography. And I'm not just saying that. I truly believe that might be the case. And I say might. So please, pay attention to that comment. You don't see it as much here. So it could actually be the angle of the lights when the photograph is taken. That's, I do see there's a little something there that looks to be kind of out of place compared to the rest of the edge, but you got to really zoom in to see it. Doesn't mean it's not there, but it could still be within the realms of a 10. If we go to the back of the card, Vintage Card Collector called out the back left edge. So let's have a look at that. The left edge, I think he's talking about this edge. Oh, he must be talking about this right there. Yeah, that's definitely an issue. That's definitely an issue. And I don't know if that is something that would get a 10 today. So if this card does not sell in the same stratosphere as the previous PSA 10s did, I would attribute it to this on the back, to Vintage Card Collector, versus what we're seeing on the front. I think this is a much more egregious sort of issue with the card. And if we just go to the top of the card, I sort of noticed this over here as well, another edge issue right up there that is definitely not light refracting or reflecting off the card, as I feel that the front bottom edge might be. So tough to say on the front edge, but the back edge certainly has some issues. Adam, anything you'd like to comment on the Jeter 93 SP?
Never ceases to amaze me when we zoom in real far what we see, even on PSA 10 cards.
Yeah, no, you're right. It never ceases to amaze. And this is an earlier graded card, I believe, and I don't know that their standards. I say I don't know because I'm not internal. I don't know if they're at PSA. Of course, I'm not. I don't know if their standards have changed over the years. I know that the hobby has feelings on that. So, but in any event, thank you to Vintage Card Collector for having us bring that one up, and we will now go back to the auction itself. Where are we here? Right there. Going to go to the top here, and I'm now going to go to Teapot's comment right here. Says, let's do the peel versus no peel debate again. Make it a recurring segment. It's something that when you get passionate card people together, like Adam and myself and all of you, more than 150 people in the chat right now, when you get us together, these are the things that we talk about. And if we were all sitting around a table at a restaurant, 8 or 10 of us having this discussion, and other tables around us could hear us, they would think we were mad. They would think, what are these guys talking about peeling a basketball card for? Isn't there more important things going on in the world? No, that's what we talk about. That's what we like to talk about. So pretty funny, and thanks for the comment, Teapot. Justin Bode says that the Jeter card is a good read on the market. People say the Michael Jordan 86 Fleer is as well. I'm starting to lean away from that now and think that there's just too much going on in this marketplace to rely on one or two cards to really be the beacon of where the hobby is at. I don't necessarily buy that anymore, especially when it comes to the Jordan card. And I don't know that I could articulate exactly why, but that's kind of where my head is going. Brendan Ryan Adam says, philosophically, an RPA shouldn't command a premium as the patch doesn't add any value, just the auto. So to me, if the patch is game used, it certainly should philosophically add value. So Brendan Ryan, my question to you is, are you saying when it's not game used? Because some RPAs are, some aren't. To me, if it is, that definitely adds value. I think it's beyond cool. Adam, your thoughts?
I think that philosophically, even when the patch isn't game used, there's things about it that can make it better looking, that can make it more desirable. And I think we've seen that over the last few years as Panini has done some sets that are not affiliated with a player of in any way. Some people just really care how that card comes out of the pack, whether it's 5 colors or 2 colors or 1 color. And so I personally am not somebody who's just like, I need my specific RPA to have this, like that doesn't really float my boat. So I kind of get a little bit where Brendan's coming from, but I think philosophically, a lot of what we talk about is nonsensical in the world of sports cards. It doesn't always have to be totally rational, but one thing that I think is really clear is that more colors and more sort of like, unusual things in that patch window, it does add tremendous value to a card in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I mean, I think what the non-game use patch adds is color. Color, that's really it. It's kind of like a color match sort of sensation or something like that. But as far as like intrinsic value, like the actual value, I don't know that for me, Adam, anyway, a non-game use patch, it's a design element. That's what it comes down to for me. It's no longer like the autograph game use patch, really cool. If it's player worn, if they wore it in a photo shoot, that's better than off the rack, but it's still, it's a little, to me, it's just a little gimmicky, but that's okay. I still have some, and I think they're decent, but I really like game use patches for my own personal collection. But I definitely think that if it's game used, I don't agree with Brendan Ryan unless I misunderstand his comment. I do think, well, here's what he says right here. Game used isn't in practice for ultra modern much anymore, but old school game used is the only exception to the rule. Yeah, but I think like some brands do it actually. I think he's thinking about like National Treasures. I don't think uses it, but doesn't like Flawless or Immaculate use game used patches on their basketball RPAs.
Well, it depends on the year. It depends on the year. There's years of National Treasures that are, they're not affiliated with the player, but I think we're a little bit of semantics. You would agree that a card that has a patch that has more colors, whether it's game used or not, like it's going to sell for more if it has more colors, right?
Oh yeah, that's the design element. Now we're talking about comparing non-game used patches against each other. So if you've got two of them beside each other, one is a 4-color, one's a 1-color, boring. The 4 color is definitely going to sell for more. It's prettier to look at. The design element is nicer.
Yes.
So yeah, it's going to sell for more because people are going to want it over the other one. It's like you don't know good until you've had bad, sort of thing, right? You don't know happiness until you've had sadness. So I think for that reason, yeah, you're correct on that. But comparing it to game used to me trumps all. I mean, there's no doubt about that for me. Should we take a look at the second-year Gretzky, Adam?
I want to. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't miss it.
Okay, so here we have, first, let me take this comment off the screen. So here's the card right here, second-year Wayne Gretzky, PSA 10. It's at $20,000. I don't know the population off the top of my head. If anyone in the chat wants to look that up and let us know, that would be really cool. I'm curious what the PSA 10 population is and what the total, like the gem rate, what's the total population. But I can do us one better, and we can actually have a look at the card closely because I have it right here where I saved the image and I can really blow it up and take a look at it. And, at first glance, you're going to look for the centering. The card to me looks almost perfectly centered. And a lot of us, I'm going to give you guys a trick when it comes to 1980 O-Pee-Chee and Topps cards. But for hockey, when you're looking at these, you're generally going to look at the side borders and are they the same size? This one's a bit tougher at the top and bottom because there is no real bottom border. You have to measure right here or right here. As can you see my mouse there, right there under the left corner versus the width of the border up here. At first glance, it seems to be just a tad shifted to the right. This seems to be a little bit narrower than this border here. But the trick that I always use, I've used this since I was a kid, Adam, is I look at the angle between the corner up here and the corner of the black square there. My mouse is in the top left of the card right now, everybody. Look at the angle here versus the angle here. And this one seems a bit sharper, a little bit more obtuse than this angle here. I can't believe I just used the word obtuse, and I don't even know if I used it correctly. But this one seems a little bit sharper than this angle here. So that tells me that, yes, this is a little bit off-centered left to right, but it's probably in that, like, I don't know, 49-51 type of off-centered. Not offensive, but yet not perfect. Then I would also look at this, the overall print quality. And right away, I noticed something over here in the puck. A little bit of surface wear right here. I think you can all see that down here as well. you know, this is more like a fisheye or a little printing spot versus anything else. But you know, to me, this is the biggest sort of a flaw or defect with the card overall. I don't know that it would cause it to not be a 10. It's probably still within the confines of what a PSA 10 is. If we look at the back of the card, you can tell it's definitely off-centered left to right on the back. This border down here is narrower than this border over here, but it is the back, so it's weighted lower than the front would be. And you know, I'm as a collector myself, I'm perfectly okay with that. PWCC has given it the exceptional designation, top 15% of copies that they have seen past their desks. So now the comment that was left was that, can we talk about the potential steal on this card? And that would mean that we need to look at, you know, pricing history on it, which I don't have handy right now, but let's see if anyone's given us the population on it. I've probably missed a ton of comments here. So Pop 301 says, Tristan, Mollico says there's 36 PSA 10s out of 3,000 graded. Here we go. Jay-Z, 36 10s, 2,768 total pop. That's just over one. That's like 1.5%, something like that, of the total population has graded a PSA 10. That's a very low gem rate, but that's what you'd expect for a card from 1980. Adam, I've done a lot of talking. Can you say something?
I want to tell you, the thing that you just taught me is about the slope. I'm not going to use the word obtuse other than to quote you, but the slope of those top two corners is really interesting. And I think what you were saying is that left one's just a little bit steeper than the right one, but it's such an interesting thing to say, because if I look left to right, my eyes aren't good enough to see that they're different at all. But I agree. I think the top left is just a tiny bit steeper than the top right. And so having said that, the fact that it's a PSA 10 with the eye appeal sticker, it was the top 30%. Do I remember that right? Makes this, you know, one of the nicer Gretzky second-year cards in existence. And yeah, I mean, I don't know Gretzky's cards well enough. I know his rookie really well by now after all the time you and I have done spent talking about it. But that many of them have been graded, and that there are so few PSA 10s. And I would also add, you know, look at this case, Jeremy. You only have to look at it for a second to realize this has been in this case for a long time. It's got a lot to love.
Yeah, I like the card. I have a 9 in that card, I believe, in my personal collection. I love it. I think it could have been a 10. It's so nice. But yeah, I mean, it's a cool card. It's a really cool card, and it's a second-year Gretzky, but I think it's a nicer card than his rookie card. The picture is just kind of cool. I believe it's an in-action shot. What happened to Adam? The reason I say I believe it's an in-action shot is because you look at the other player. That's actually, I believe, Ryan Walter, the captain of the Washington Capitals back then. And the reason why I'm not sure if it's in action is this might be like, no, this is definitely in action. Look at his eyes. He's focused, right? Otherwise, this could be during warm-up, but I do believe it's an action shot. I like it better than the rookie card aesthetically, but the rookie card is so much more iconic that I still like that card better. You know, it's kind of one of those types of things. But thanks for everybody for that information. Brendan Ryan asked a great question. Should ink pooling cause a hit on the grade no matter how small? That's a great question. I think, listen, to me, the print quality of the card matters to the overall condition. It's like a card that is really blurry. We talk about registration all the time. A card with poor registration should impact, to me, the surface grade. There's nothing else. It's not going to impact centering, edges, or corners. It would impact surface. There should almost be maybe surface should be what is the condition of the surface of the card itself physically, and then another subgrade should almost be registration or print quality. But it may be too late to add that to the history of cards that we have in the hobby right now. What do you think of that, Adam?
Specifically the pooling, or which part?
Like, should there be another subgrade altogether? Is there a difference between surface grade between the condition of the surface and the quality of the print, that sort of thing?
I hear you now. I thought about this. I think it's a great question. In some ways, I would say yes, because to me, there's like two different types of issues with the card. There's card, and you and I have talked about this before. There's the issues that come because somebody mishandled it, and then there's the issues that came that were already present straight out of the pack. And for me, like there's times where I look at a card and I think that card is basically untouched. We say pack fresh, right? Like I think it's kind of cool when you get a card that's like 80-20 side to side. I know some people hate to hear me say this, but it's like perfect, except for it wasn't printed quite right. That has like an element of it that's kind of cool. It's like, hey, this thing hasn't been touched. It's super nice. And by the same token, there's cards that have been handled and whatever else, but you can tell that it came out of the pack just right. And so what you're referencing is, if we were to like have a delineation between those two elements of the surface, it'd be pretty cool. I mean, it would be cool, but there's four grades, I think is, wow, look at the Chansey, Jeremy. Holy crap. 50 grand, 50 plus 20%. I think hopefully somebody can answer me this. This might be the highest dollar Chansey card that's ever sold. And I know that we're in a group chat that mostly will not care about that, but that's a big deal in the world of the hobby. So anyway.
I like how that just totally stole your attention. But yeah, I have no idea who Chansey is, but I see that he seems to be blowing a bubble, some bubble gum or something coming out of his. I don't know what he's doing in that, but hey, I'm sure that's a very important card. It's at 50,000, which is 60 with buyer's premium. Connor McDavid, rookie year emblems of endorsements, gets a bid up to $16,000, numbered out of 15 with an on-card auto. I believe those are game used patches, but they might be player worn. I'm not 100% certain on that. Justin Bode says 20,000 is low end for a PSA 10 second year Gretzky. 30 to 35K seems to be more in line. Mid-Atlantic, regarding the unopened 72 basketball box, says that wax boxes have enormous value when broken down and sold to vintage breakers. Aggregate pack value almost always exceeds box price. If one can afford a full box, it's hard to lose. Interesting comment there. Doug Brenner says, agreed. To me, poor printing is part of the surface grade. Yeah, to me too, Doug. At least I expect it to be, but I think that's the way the grading companies would treat it. I can't, I'd have to go look at their at PSA and Beckett's website to see if they include the print quality in the surface grade, but that would be the logical place for it to be. And I think it logically has to be considered. Definitely has to be considered. Nick Martelli says, great example on print quality is this past year's Upper Deck Series 1. Okay. Eric says, an actual O-Pee-Chee Gretzky card that has a high grade and deserves it. Didn't think I would ever see the day. That 1980 looks nice. Vintage card collector, can you pull up the 61 Wilt PSA 8 odd surface damage and got a 230?
Top 30 is what he's saying. It's a top 30%.
Top 30. A top 30%. So the PSA 8. So he's saying that there are two Wilt Chamberlains then in the auction. So let me just do a quick search for Wilt. And I don't think I actually saved an image of the Wilt PSA 9. I did take it of the Wilt PSA, sorry, of the 8, I don't think. Oh, no, I did take it. Never mind. Here it is. So let's bring up the Wilt PSA 8.
As you pull that up, Vintage Card Collector knows his stuff. I will say, I've heard some people say, hey, what's nicer, the PSA 9 or the PSA 8? And so other people are looking at it saying this is an immaculate Chamberlain. So let's look at it.
We will, but first, Newt Stew. Thank you very much, Chauncey. Keeps an egg by his mouth. He's not chewing bubble gum. Thank you, Chauncey. Thank you, Newt Stew. Appreciate that. That's his egg. I'm sure it's very important to him. Jeff P clarifies the McDavid emblems endorsement is a rookie shoot, so at least he wore it. Definitely there. Justin Bode says, Jeremy has us all considering the print quality these days on the vintage. Yeah, of course I do. You guys, it's so important. Eye appeal is so important in cards. It's not just about centering. I think people have to, centering, very important, but there's more to it, to an eye appeal than only centering. So let's take a look at this PSA 8 Wilt Chamberlain. And I get there's two things that jump out to me right away. Right here, we have something else right up there, but then down here under the armpit. So the comment was from Vintage Card Collector. Let's pull it up. And okay, so let's have a look. First thing, and he does say that so it is an above average condition as far as the PSA 8s that have crossed the desks at PWCC. So at first glance, ignoring those surface issues, the card, edges, corners, centering all look wonderful. Centering, it's off a couple degrees to the right. That you can see that with your naked eye. Top to bottom looks pretty perfect to me. Color looks pretty good. Edges and corners are like, if we zoom in, really nice. This here does not. This to me is still like a perfect edge. I like that. A little bit of fray, never hurt anybody. At least that's my thoughts. Edges, corners look really good. This corners, it's not a perfect 90, but it's still pretty darn close. It's still within a PSA 8. I would think it's within PSA 8 requirements. Same with the top right. But if we hone in on what seems to be a couple of issues, so this is just some surface wear, I believe. I don't think it's printing. I think it's surface wear. And then we come down to, there was a second one somewhere. Oh, this up here. I don't know what that is. I think it's a bit of just some surface wear. Maybe a piece of gum scratched it there a little bit. But what is this? This is the one I can't quite figure out what that is. Adam, do you? I don't know. Is that on the outside of the holder? Is that a piece of cellophane that's in a perfect square? Like, what is that? I don't know. Over here we have just a little printing issue, but it doesn't bother me. It would
sometimes. I've noticed cases, both from like encased cards from Panini and cases from, and I don't know this. I'm not sure, but sometimes the cases will have like these little like squares of the, like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, it's like a different colored plastic. I'm thinking of a couple of encased cards that I have where I'm like, what is that thing what's that encased thing? And you can tell it's on the case. I can't even remember if I had this card in hand, Jeremy. I should remember that, but I don't. And so what I would encourage anybody to do is look at the 360 on this and look at the video too. I would guess that's not on the card because that stands out quite a bit, honestly. And so to think that could still get a PSA 8 with that, and also the eye appeal tells me it's probably a case issue rather than a card issue, but I wish I could guarantee that I can't.
Yeah, tough to say. The shape of it just looks too perfect to actually be a flaw on the card. But the last thing I'll mention on this card is there's a slight registration issue, and you can see it in the top of the shoulders here with that dark stripe coming down, the white under the armpit here. You see it under his ears. That white really shouldn't be there. And then on the top of his head, it's got that dark stripe or layer. That's certainly not his hairstyle. That's just where I guess the black plate was laid down, half a millimeter higher than it should have been. And you can see a little bit of that here as well. This is not laid down perfectly, but
Hey, can we compare it to the 9 real quick? Because what happens to me a lot of times, and I thought the same thing when we were going through the Jeter, Jeremy. Sometimes I'll look at a card and I'm like, I don't know if this is a superior copy to what we normally see, because I've never looked at this thing, super in tight. I wonder if we look at the PSA 9, if we'll notice some of those same things, or if none of those issues will be present.
Well, here's the 9. I do want to acknowledge we have Karn in the back room. Karn, sorry, I just see you there now. I'll bring you out in just a minute or two, buddy. Let's just finish looking at this. So this one, you can see there's no registration issue here. I don't know if that might just be the design right down there, because I don't see that anywhere else. The head looks pretty good. Well, maybe minor. Listen, I have a copy of this card. Mine's a PSA 7.5, and it has this white here. It doesn't bother me. Do I wish it wasn't there? Sure. But to me, these cards were made in 1961. A little degree of registration is not going to stop a card from getting into my collection. So,
Jeremy, we've done this before. Is it possible to toggle back and forth when you're highly zoomed in right on Wilt's face? Because I want to see that hairline and underneath, and like in the ears, underneath the ears. I'd like to see a comparison of those two. Is it pretty close, or is it not close? Maybe
you can't do it remaining zoomed in, Adam.
Darn it.
Yeah, they're pretty, like, this one is definitely worse.
There's more.
I would say the 8 is worse, just looking at the degree of the white under the ear. And there's no white on the side of his ear here, where there was on this one here. You've got some of the white coming through here. So yeah, the 8 is certainly not it's not a 9, that's for sure. And this 9, I have no issues with this card being a PSA 9. It's not a 10, that's for sure. But I'm comfortable with this being a 9 myself. Doesn't have a PWCC eye appeal designation. I like that it's got this thin gray strip across the top. It allows you to really measure I think that's meant to be there. I've never known for sure, but at least it really helps you measure the centering on the back of the card. Because if this thin beige line was crooked, you would know that there was a centering issue on the back of the card, or at least be that much easier to identify.
And a lot of those, I do the same thing. Whenever I look at the back of a 61, I want to see a thin line right there of that lighter color. And a lot of times you don't see it because they're a little bit off center, miscut, and there is no line there, or it can be a little bit crooked. That one, both of these, the backs look about like, I actually like this one a little bit better. I like seeing that little bit thicker line there on the back. Than the other one, it's a little bit thinner than
a little bit thicker, but it does get a little bit narrower as you make your way left to right.
Oh, it does. Yeah, you're right.
A little bit narrower. So there is a slight tilt there, but I kind of maybe notice it here on the front too, but it's minor. I think you might have a wider border. No, I don't know. The front looks pretty good to me, actually. I don't think I'm noticing it on the front. So, but that's the 8 that had that. Yeah. And then the 9 has the really thin one, which is kind of what I'm looking for, is the thinner, because I don't know that it's supposed to be there at all. I don't know if that blue is supposed to bleed all the way to the edge or not.
Hey, let me ask you one more question on this, because I've never really thought about it. But if you look at the bottom left-hand corner where his arm and the red, I don't know what color that is, red, where they meet. See how there's like that little, like, is it like that on the other one? Should they line up more than that? Or
I've never seen one where this aligns perfectly. I notice it all the time. I've never seen one where it aligns better than that. This is the 9. I mean, but theoretically it should have, but maybe they all came out that way. And listen, I'm not claiming to have seen all of them out there, but the ones I've looked, and when I was shopping for my copy, I noticed that right away. Like, here it is again. It's the same thing. So I don't know. It's just a nuance of the card, I think. All right, let's take a moment. Let's bring out our special guest. Karn, are you ready to come on? He's nodding. There he is. There he is. Karn Rai, you are on mute. There you go. Welcome back to the show as our special guest. And look at, he's even wearing the PWCC baseball cap. Isn't that nice?
Yeah, I was gonna say my introduction has 3 points. Number 1 is Jeremy, sorry for cheating on you. Didn't wear the Sports Card Live hat today. Had to pull out the PW hat. Number 2, you keep calling Chansey a him. It's definitely a female, so it's a her and a she. And number 3, I'm stressing out right now with all this activity going on with the PWCC auction.
Why are you stressing out with all the activity, Karn? What's going on in your world?
I'm like, there's a lot of things I bid on, and I'm outbid on everything right now. But like, I know when it's like this sweet spot to start bidding on things. So I'm like, I just don't know what I want to go for yet. So I'm just like, patiently waiting and checking it out and seeing what my eyes land on. And also on the Wilt Chamberlain situation, I'm like 99% sure that that square is on the PSA case. I've seen that multiple times, like a lot, that exact same square. And I'm sure if you go and like look at it again and you zoom in, you'll probably be able to see the shadow on the card as well. So yeah, I'm like 99. I can't say 100%, but pretty certain that square's on the case itself.
Well, here we go. I brought it back up. So there is like, look, there's this square here, and then there's like a faint square behind it. Is that you think that's the shadow?
Yeah, probably. Like the way the PWCC cameras are taking the pictures, it might be coming at a different angle, right? So, but yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say when I'm looking at that one, but I have definitely seen that square before. So I can say that for sure.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Additional experience. I don't recall seeing it. I may have along the way somewhere and just forgotten. But yeah, it's a weird little thing. to have to try and figure out on a computer screen. So, but thanks for that additional information, Karn. Appreciate that. Is there anything that you are bidding on in the auction that you want to share with us? And I completely understand if you don't.
Yeah, I think as of right now, probably not, but I will at the end.
Perfect.
I'll tell you something that I'm very, interested in seeing. Obviously, we've talked about it a lot of times, but the deal I made with Jeff Wilson at the Sports Card Expo, the two main cards were the LeBron BGS 9 Gold Refractor and the PSA 10 Jordan. So I'm very interested in seeing that showdown happen in real time right now, just to see if I lost the trade or not. So that's something I'm keeping my eye on.
Well, we talked about it already earlier before you came in, that I'm curious about the Gold Refractor and how it performs versus the PSA 10 Michael Jordan. And we talked about your trade and kind of the different moving parts. So yeah, interesting to see and very exciting for you. At the end of the day, I think, if this card sells for anything over 300,000, you might feel bad about the trade. Or I don't even feel bad, but you might be like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I lost several 10, 20, 30, who knows how many thousand, but it's so hard to know what's going to happen day to day. And the fact of the matter is, Karn, just the fact that you made that deal might change the value of that card, because Jeff Wilson has a huge audience, and he might, that might have inspired other people to look at that card. Who knows? So had you not made the trade, there may not be a difference in value. You made the trade, that could have impacted the value of the card, at least in the short term, Yeah,
that's 100% true. And it's obviously not as great as a copy either, in my opinion on that one. The centering is a little bit off on this one, but hey, look, Gold Refractor LeBron Topps Chrome. You can't, you don't want to worry too much about the smallest details. It's a little to the left, but look, like that card is just gorgeous in any centering condition for sure. So yeah, and I actually wanted to talk about that Chansey card a little bit more. I got a little bit more information on that card than you two have, I guess, being a 90s baby. So
I got to interview a really smart member of the community. Her name's Pokey Chloe on Instagram about this particular card, and I got to learn quite a bit. But I want to hear what you've got to say about it too, Karn.
Yeah, I'm obviously a little bit more. I'm not as in depth and expert in Pokemon, but I did grow up with it, and I have bought Pokemon Snap cards before. And the reason why this card is so special is it was actually given out to contest winners back in the late 90s that pertain to a video game called Pokemon Snap. And the game's process is essentially you go around and take pictures of Pokemon. And the contest was whatever kid took the best pictures in that game. They won the prize, and the prize was you get the full 20 card set. So there's only 20 made of each character. And that one winner got all 20 of the cards. So it didn't get distributed to multiple people. That single person got all 20. And I believe there was 8 different Pokemon. Obviously, Pikachu is probably the biggest one. And that card's probably worth around $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. But the way the cards were distributed actually resulted in some of these cards never appearing to the public. And the Chansey is one of those cards where you never see out there in the general public. And then there's only 20 of them out there. And that's kind of what the backstory is. So it's really cool for the Pokemon crowd.
One small correction that I learned as we were doing this research is that there's 2 elements. There's 2 different sets as far as the Snap cards go. One is the Mario 64. The other, I forget the name of it. The other one is the one that the winners were awarded the 20 cards. The Mario 64 that the Chansey's part of, they were actually only awarded 15. So there were only 15 of the Chansey cards. And like you say, they never surfaced. Some of the cards, correct me if I'm right, if I'm wrong on this, Karn, but I don't believe a Pikachu has ever surfaced. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, so there is one that surfaced on in like Japan auctions, but people
Okay.
are a little concerned about if it's authentic or not. It was listed at $400,000 raw, and it made a lot of noise in the Pokemon community. But yeah, there is that one copy, and I'm sure if it was authenticated and everyone was confident in it, it would probably have sold already. But a Magikarp, which is kind of a fish character, that card sold for $150,000 just like 8 months ago. So yeah, that's kind of just the context of the Chansey, and I didn't actually know about that, the difference between the two variations there. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Oh yeah, of course. This is one of those where I went to the description on the card because I didn't. When I was doing the video on this one, Karn, you can imagine. I looked at it and I was like, I'm not the expert on this. So I called a couple of people. I read what we had written on it. I did every bit of research that I could. But the thing that I love, and I think you can probably corroborate this, the world of like vintage, I use this term loosely, vintage Pokemon is so much less defined than the world of like sports cards where we have books written about these things. A lot of the Pokemon stuff, there's not like a central source to go get all of the information. And I think that plays to really, smart collectors' advantages because they can go and they can find these pieces of information and then, find what is rare.
Yeah, and it's funny. The information itself is rare to the point where people actually bid and try to buy the information because you never see the catalogs because they're made in Japan back in the 90s and they weren't ever taken care of. So the actual information that kind of sources all these cards is rare in itself, and only a few people are able to actually buy those catalogs and display it to the public. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's just rare in every aspect. And yeah, the maturation of the vintage Pokemon market is just started beginning in the last couple of years, and there's a lot of years to go, and I think it's going to continue growing, and that's kind of why you're seeing that card hit that $60,000 price it's at right now.
Big numbers for Pokemon with a who's not blowing a bubble but actually has an egg. And I just say it funny because it's this is Sports Cards Live. But anyway, okay, I'm gonna go to a couple more comments here, guys. Back to what we're talking about in terms of surface condition. Mod Cult makes a great suggestion here. Maybe combine centering with print quality and call it production quality, including print lines, roller marks, if they can be distinguished from handling damage. I think that's a great idea to implement 30 years ago, maybe too late now, but you never know. Jeff Hart says, I've got them. Now here he's talking about the square, that little square thing we saw on the Wilt Chamberlain. He says, I've got them in a number of slabs before. It's not part of the card. So it's really a flaw in the PSA holder, I guess, I think. And Jeff, I'd love to hear what you think it actually is that is causing that to be there. But it's great to hear for PWCC, for the buyer, for the seller of that card, that it's not on the card. That's great to hear. And Brennan Ryan says, almost looks like the reflection of someone's desktop computer, which is an interesting take and maybe is the situation. I just don't know. So very interesting. Teapot's asking if anyone of us are going to Atlanta for the Culture Collision show. Love to buy us a beer or a coffee or a show concession. I may last minute, but right now the plan is not to. Adam, Karn, either of you going to the Culture Collision show in Atlanta at the end of January? Adam's no. They're both shaking no. So there we go. No plans for any of us to be at that show, but I will be at the Burbank show in February. And the Mint Collective looking like I'll be there as well in Vegas at the end of March, beginning of April. Should we do a little bit of a dive into this O-Pee-Chee PSA 9 Wayne Gretzky card, guys? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a nice copy. It's a nice copy.
All right, Karn liked it. It's at $120,000, which is higher than the last. With buyer's premium, will be higher than the last 3 copies that all sold for $132,000. But as we've said, not all PSA 9s are equal. So let me quickly find my image of that, and I will bring that up for us all to see, and we can have a look at the card itself. There's also a Topps PSA auction tonight. but here we go. Here's the PSA 9. And, you know, I'm looking at this as everyone else is, just from this angle. It looks beautiful. Like, it looks just the centering, the edges, the corners. I mean, this thing looks amazing to me at first glance. The oil drop looks to be perfectly placed. When I say oil drop, we're talking about this oil drop right here, fitting right into the pocket. Seems to be perfect. That's very rare to see a perfectly placed oil drop. The clarity, the registration appears to be extremely nice. From this angle, from this magnification, I don't really see anything wrong with this card at all. I mean, so for it to get the PSA or the PWCC Eye Appeal designation, looks great. Let's look at the back of the card, as Justin points out, and I do know what we're about to see. And we see right here this mark. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. It seems to be like it seems to be in the card itself. What I mean by that, it doesn't seem to be something added after, either, you know, like, I don't know, an ink mark or something that a kid did with it back in 1980 or in there. It just, by the graininess of it, it seems, because look at what I'm looking at, guys. Watch my mouse. See this little grainy issue here? It's not even an issue, but this lightening of the card, that pattern seems to be consistent with the pattern as it flows into the brown, and even through past the brown into this beige cardstock right here. Like, it seems to be a print issue, which to me is a better situation than if it was something added after by accident. So listen, I'm not saying it's perfect. It's not, but I prefer that than it being, you know, I don't know, mud from a kid's finger or something like that. Thankfully, it's on the back, not on the front. It is an issue with the card. It's definitely one of those surface type issues, but not something that would really bother me if I owned the card, because it's on the back. Now, would I prefer it wasn't there? Of course I would, but I don't think that this causes it to not be the grade that it's in right now. I notice a little bit of a printing. This darkness here, this 1, 2, these little spots, looks to be like in the grain of the cardstock. I'm not 100% sure, but again, I don't think that's something that came after the fact. I think that is in the card itself. So I don't know if that's a printing thing or if it's a cardstock thing, like if that's just the way the grains of the wood or the pulp ended up showing up in the card. So seems to be a little bit of a white spot right there. Can't tell if that's on the card or not. That might not be on the card. It's too white. That is too white to be paper loss. I can tell you that for sure. So I think that's something maybe floating around or on the outside of the holder. I don't think that is in the card itself. The color just doesn't make sense. So the back, aside of what we just pointed out, looks really good. Back to the front. I mean, I love this card. I just right now looking at it, I love the front of this card, no doubt. But let's zoom in. We haven't zoomed in yet. Everyone's still with me. Everyone's still with me.
Yes.
Still with me. All right. So I'm getting like right into this here. So I'm going to zoom in on the corners. Top corner looks perfect. Top edge looks perfect to me. People will notice it's not a perfect edge, but like, I love this. I love this little, that's what you're looking for. Oh, that's the cut. That's the O-Pee-Chee cut. Top right corner. Let it just sort of focus there. Seems to be not 100% perfect, but like from here, it's just fine. Little touch of white showing. Wouldn't bother me as the owner of this card. Coming down the edge. Edge looks nice. I love this. I love this edge that we're seeing here. The rough cut. I love that. Let's just make this faster. Come all the way down. Bottom corner looks pretty perfect. Now you can notice, if you're noticing right here, see this white thin line here. If you've watched this show before, you know that I'm going to call that out every time. It's just a slight registration issue, but I'm going to finish the edge. I love this edge. That corner is wonderful. You see that same white line down here underneath between the black and the blue, very thin. And when you zoom out, you know, you don't even see it. Like right there, you don't even see it at all. Like you just don't see it. So it's very, very minor. Doesn't, to me, does not, the grade The eye appeal designation don't bother me whatsoever. I'm on with this card. Let's look at the oil drop. The placement is perfect. Do you notice what I'm noticing? See that yellow? The yellow coming below the orange. Adam, do you see that?
Yeah.
So that's the yellow. The yellow plate was laid down like just a degree lower than the magenta and the other ones. So, but no, like, listen, you barely notice it. The oil drop looks great overall, but be aware that that is existing, and you'll see it up here too. And on the word Oilers, you're going to see the yellow coming lower than the magenta, which is causing, if you look closely at the top of these letters, you're noticing two different shades of red, right? One has magenta only, one has magenta combined with yellow, and that's why you're seeing that. When you zoom out, though, I don't see it at all, right? I don't see it at all. So this is one of those things where, look, I'm going to point it out because it's there, but they don't bother me. I would be a very proud owner of this particular copy and feel like I had one of the better 9s out there, even with what I've pointed out. This is a great copy, as Karn said before. And I mean, just looking at it from here, that's one of the nicest ones I've seen from this angle.
Jeremy, quick question. How much does the Oilers logo being centered in that black circle matter on the Gretzky? I know I've seen that pretty often. So is that common or?
Yeah, so now what we're talking about is the Oilers logo, this everything within this blue circle. How does it sit within this black circle here? And I need to apologize. I often forget to look at that, and I shouldn't. But to me, I don't notice it. I just don't notice that as much as I notice other things. In this case, yeah, it's down and to the right. The board, this white, the thickness of this white border here is thinner than up here, quite a bit, like double almost. So I don't know how it matters, Karn, and as far as how it gets graded. It's so weird because I don't know how that happens. Like, I just don't know how everything lines up on this card as far as the black and the blue go, except for that. So I've seen it in different places. It's not always where we see it right here, but I don't know that I've ever seen a perfectly placed ones. I just don't know. And doesn't bother me though. Like, I still love it, but something I'm going to pay more attention to moving forward.
Doesn't it seem to you, I think this is what you're getting at, Jeremy, if there's 4 plates that are each being used, that if one is off in one direction, that it should be off in that direction throughout the card, right? And so how can that happen where this Oilers thing can sit in different segments of the black circle? How does that happen with the rest of the card being? I think that's what you're saying. And the only answer that comes to my mind, Jeremy, the only answer is that there had to have been different variations of plates that were originally, like, you know what I'm saying? And that goes back to, you've talked about how you don't buy into there being like a first generation or the double yellow line thing on the back. Maybe there were different plates that were used, and sometimes the Oilers on one, the Oilers sit center in the circle, and on the other it sits down and to the right. I don't know.
Well, and that's very possible, Adam. Like, that's a plausible explanation. I don't know if it's right or not. Again, just don't know. But yeah, you're right. Logically, like, everything else works out except that. So, when you just think about the printing process and 4 printing plates coming together to form an image, like, if the black and the blue, like, they all seem, everything matches up except for that. So I don't know how that isn't like the intended way, or just the way that they were. I don't know. I have to look at more copies, kind of all together, focusing on that one detail. But as I think it was Justin Bode says right here, such an impossible card. I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those cards that just has so many nuances to it, and it's fun every month to analyze it and just see what's going on. Justin Bode said, we're talking about the back of the card. He says it looks like it may be the grain of the cardstock, some of those blemishes on the back. So that's cool. Jay Mollico says the PSA 10 OPG has some off-centering of the logo as well. Very interesting. Brendan Ryan says it's very hard to critique a Gretzky because high grades are so few and far between. When you see one, you suddenly become more forgiving of flaws. That's a reasonable comment. That's a fair comment. I mean, it's a psychological type comment, but it makes some sense to me. Justin says, I could be wrong, but they all seem to be to the bottom right of the Oiler sign, on the Oiler logo. So placed like to the lower and to the right within this black circle that sort of surrounds the Oilers logo. And that's how I remember seeing most of them when I've noticed it. So, well, we'll see. Maybe we'll see another one later that has other copies. CS says it's a very nice copy. Brendan Ryan uses the term foxing, maybe to describe when the card stock is a little bit different. Brendan says it's an absolutely beautiful copy. So yeah, lots of love for this card. And again, when you look at it from here, it's nicer than both of the 10s from this angle that exist. It's a really nice copy. So, if you can get past this foxing if that's what we're calling this now, on the back of the card, then you've got an amazing specimen here that would be worth like $4 million if it was a 10. And maybe this is the only thing causing it and saving you $3.5 or $3.8 million. It's a lot of money to save for a little bit of foxing on the back of a card. So there we go. There's this month's analysis of the Wayne Gretzky O-Pee-Chee card. Let's bring back the PWCC page though and see what's going on the ticker. What some latest?
We're in the 60-second world now, Jeremy. So
we're in the 60-second world. If there are no bids on any card for a 60-second period, the whole auction will end. C. Blaise has just joined us. Haven't read the comment yet. Let's see what he says. Welcome to the show. Chad says, just joined in. Jeremy, thank you for teaching me so much about the Gretzky. I love the way you explain. Oh, thank you so much, Chad. And always good to see you. Okay, we got a game-worn jersey. Looks like a Luka hitting 77.5. Tom Brady gold kaboom hits 21.5. Babe Ruth 48 Leaf 24,000. And Patrick Mahomes is in this auction so much. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Luka. I mean, outside of Michael Jordan, who's we always have Jordan cards. Those guys are always in this thing, always. Karn, how are you doing there? How are you managing being on this show and juggling bidding on cards? Are you winning anything yet?
Not winning yet, but I'm doing my final checks of a card's condition and thinking of making the half bid here shortly. So, and I'm probably going to reveal myself because it's going to show up right at the top.
Well, then we should scroll to the top and see what's going on here. I don't think you're looking at. I don't know if I want to say it, but this card here, this is actually the second on-card Gretzky jersey auto. This is from '98. He has a '97. This is still a great card and tough to find, but it's now left the screen. I don't know. Karn he does like hockey, so that could have been the one he bid on, but we'll see what else. I don't want to stalk your bids here, Karn, and call you out. So, but that one kind of might be the one. You never know. Well, Jeremy, we don't know. Adam.
Jeremy, I texted you when that Gretzky showed up, to do a video on it, the dual jersey autograph, and I said, "Is this a Grail?" Because my first recognition was, "Hey, this is late '90s. I think it's '98." And I saw that, and I kind of got excited. I was like, "Is this like the equivalent to the Jordan?" The GJ 13 in basketball, and you pointed out that there was one before it. Is that first Gretzky is that like a huge card in the world of hockey?
Yeah, so the one from the year before, the 97 Gretzky jersey auto, is numbered out of 99, hand numbered. It's a big card. A copy recently sold, like in the last month. I don't remember where or the grade or if it was raw, but I think it sold for like $25,000 or something like that, maybe 30,000 USD. That's a big card. It's in my opinion, it's more important than the one on PWCC tonight, simply because it's the first one ever. It's his first auto mem card ever produced. The one we're seeing tonight is the second one, but the one tonight has two jersey windows, one of which I think was a two-color, really nice, a gorgeous autograph. It's easier to see the autograph on the 98 than it is the 97, but it's still the second one. So I personally don't consider this one tonight to be a Grail Gretzky card. I consider the 97 copy to be a grail. And, just to be transparent, I own a copy of the 97. I don't own a copy of the 98. But that's why I own a copy of the 97 and not the 98. To me, it's the more important card. So, look what just got a bid.
I saw that. It's interesting. It's interesting to me to talk about that because you say a $25,000 ish on the 97. Well, if the cross sport comparison is the Jordan at a 23 that also doesn't have the best area to sign autographs, and also the autograph doesn't show up as well as subsequent years. It's interesting that the Jordan is a $1 million+ card, one of the real huge cards in our hobby that we never seen come up for auction. Obviously, there's 4 times as many of the Wayne Gretzky's as there are the Jordans, but I would have thought that the original Gretzky autograph jersey would be quite a bit more than 25 grand.
Yeah, and then the 99 out of 99 actually just sold for $40K, I believe, on eBay. I think that might have been Canadian, but there was a little bit of concern about it being jersey number because it's very easy to wipe off the numbering and add your own numbering. So some people were kind of having that discussion if the card was actually 99 out of 99. So it probably affected the pricing a little bit. But yeah, it did sell for a little bit more than $25K US. But yeah, this 98 jersey, I didn't bid on this card, by the way, but this 98 game jersey, I love it. It's a card that, you can really see that autograph. I agree with, Jeremy, of why the 97 is a bigger card. But this one's not too shabby either. It is 2 game used jersey swatches in there and such a clear Gretzky auto. And I feel like just 90s Gretzky hard sign autos are so undervalued in the market today, and there's not many out there. So it's definitely a fun card for sure.
I also want to point out, I don't know if you noticed, Adam, but Karn just used the terminology hard signed. Hockey collectors have always used the terminology hard signed versus on card. I've switched to on card. I think it just makes a bit more sense. You just know what it means better. But it's just funny that Karn, if anyone was wondering what he meant by hard signed, he meant on card, of course, versus being a sticker. Very quickly, I want to address Chad's question here. Is the card you were talking about from regular Upper Deck Hockey? Yes, it is. Yes, both of these were from both the 97 and the 98 Gretzky jersey autos were from Upper Deck's flagship brand. There you go, Chad. But I think one of the biggest reasons, Adam, is, if the Jordan equivalent is worth $1 million and the Gretzky is worth, say, $25K, that's a 40 times multiplier. Yeah. Is that how much more popular Michael Jordan is than Wayne Gretzky? Maybe it is, but it shouldn't be. But I say it shouldn't, but why? If it is, then it should be. So I want to take that back, actually. But I don't think it's that much of a discrepancy. I don't think Jordan cards are worth, equivalent, like the same thing. Apples to apples is worth 40 times the Gretzky. So maybe there are bargains to be had. And owning a copy, I hope that's not the case. My copy is actually a 2-color jersey piece as well. It's numbered 55, I think, of 99. I hope it's worth a lot closer to $1 million than
your copy is insane, man. It's such a nice looking copy. I stock it sometimes, I'm not gonna lie.
My copy.
Yeah, I love your copy. I'm like, I know you're just not going to sell it, so I've never asked you about it, but know that I've looked at it quite intriguingly. So
hilarious.
What I would say just about that really quickly is, in sometimes the best thing to do is to look at other people who know about the hobby but don't know specifically about the cards. I don't know hockey. I know you guys are the experts in the room, but for me, the first jersey autograph of Wayne Gretzky from the era that, precedes the Cup, where, as Karn talked about, there's not as many hard signed Gretzky autographs, on card Gretzky autographs. To me, that's a really interesting era because you get to the Cup and you get to some of those later years, you see more autographs, of some of the great players. But in the early years, you just don't see those cards come up for auction very often because there's so many fewer of them. They really paved the way for those later series. And that's why I think we've seen in, across all sports, prior to Exquisite, prior to the Cup, those cards, even though they may not be aesthetically nearly what the Cup and Exquisite give us. They have some importance in terms of like the progression of the hobby during those eras. They came first, and they're highly collectible. And so even though this one's the second one, and I think also the second year there's a single jersey Gretzky autograph, if I remember right, along with the duel.
Well, you're right,
really
Adam.
important.
Sorry, I'm just going to jump in because you're right, and I didn't. I knew that, but it wasn't fresh at the top of my head. But William, I want to bring up William Brown's comment here. He says that Gretzky on PWCC tonight is his third game jersey auto. That dual jersey came in Upper Deck Series 2 in 98, but Series 1 there was a game jersey auto at a 99 with a single patch window as well. So corroborating what you're saying, and thank you, William Brown, for the detailed information. I think that's wonderful. Couple more comments here. Brendan Ryan says, means the Gretzky has more upside, which I actually believe. That makes sense to me. JP Brabant says, MJ versus the Gretzky multiplier, the demand is the part of the equation that may be different. Well, I think that's exactly right. But what is that? Is there 40 times the demand for Jordan than Gretzky? Adam, you're shaking your head. I mean, you work at PWCC, you'd have an idea. So, I mean, I don't feel like it's that different as well either.
Let me just say, and as a guy who collects Jordan, who knows nothing about hockey and not using any information from what I know from PWCC or anything, like let's just do like a market cap analysis of the Jordan rookie versus the Gretzky rookie. I know the Jordan rookie is going to be a lot more. Is it 40 times, Jeremy? That sounds outrageous to me.
I don't know. We'd have to do the math, but that's a very loose sort of indicator, a loose piece of analysis.
I don't think so. I think that's the best indicator, because what it does is it shows us across the world what are people willing to pay for a key card of a given player. And so again, it's not perfect, and I get what you're saying when you say it's loose. It's better than any other indicator though, because it takes into consideration the rarity of the card and the total like desire for it across the board. So I wouldn't take a Gretzky rookie in a PSA 9 and compare it to a Jordan, right? That doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. But the market cap in some way does sort of make sense, because it extrapolates it across how many exist.
Yeah, I hear your logic. I don't know that I can get my head around it. I almost would prefer to compare PSA 9s to each other and PSA 8s.
Really?
Well, as long as the population is somewhat comparable within a certain percentage.
But they're not. They're not. That's the point. They're not comparable.
Yeah.
Like Gretzky's worth what times Jordan? Like 10x?
Probably. Well, yeah,
it's
probably
going
6.
opposite. That's exactly my point, Jeremy. That doesn't make sense. You have
to. Doesn't. You're right. You're right. No, it doesn't. That's not a good. Maybe it's the market cap of the 9s and the market caps of the 8s and comparing those. But the whole population, I'm not as comfortable with. If you're trying to figure out what that multiplier is, it's really tough. The other issue with Gretzky autos is that there's so many of them being produced nowadays. So if you want a Gretzky auto, you can get one from any year right up until probably this year. He still signs for Upper Deck. So it's not a rare auto, but 90s autos are rare. And that's where the Jordan auto, I think a lot of that value differential comes from the fact that there's so few Jordan autographs to satisfy the demand. And there's no shortage of Gretzky autographs overall. So I think that's a bigger reason why. But
to be clear, like you can still get nice Jordan autographs for like $5,000. You don't have to pay $1 million. And it's the same thing with Gretzky, except for let's use that multiplier. What if you take an average Jordan autograph and compare it to the $1 million one? What's an average Gretzky? I bet the multiplier on that is still way higher for the GJ 23 than it is the original that you've got. See, what we have here is I'm talking up your card and you're talking it down, which is really a fun.
I'm just, and I'm not, to me, I'm not even thinking about it that way. And I know you're not either. I'm just like, because a Gretzky, you can get a Gretzky autograph for $400 or $500. You know, maybe it's a sticker. So on card auto, you can get an on card Gretzky for $600 pretty easily. May not be the prettiest card, may not be from Cup or SB Authentic, but you can get it for $600. I don't think you can get a Jordan autograph for. What can you get? What's not the cheapest Jordan auto, but what's like a Jordan auto $5,000 to get in basically?
Yeah, three to five, something like that.
So 3 to 5. So let's say 3 versus, so it's 6 times. 3,000 versus 500 is a nice easy math. 6 times. So 40 times on these ones is out of whack. Yeah. So
Doesn't make
hey,
sense.
let's talk up my card and talk down the Jordan, or let's talk them both up. I don't care what it is. Like Karn said, mine isn't really for sale. I did have it in my showcase at Expo. But when everyone asked me, I hesitated to give them a number because it was like, it's one of those few cards in my showcase that it's like, I don't really want to put a price on. If you tell me you'll pay $100,000 for it, maybe I'll take it, but kind of one of those sorts of things. Lots of comments coming in about
awesome.
this. Let's take a look at a few of them here. Justin Bode says, hard signed, yells 90s. I agree with that. For Joe Perot, if you're still out there, both Ja Morant R's and G's are on the screen right now. So there's a big value differential right there. Sasha Parfanov says, isn't Nat Turner hoarding most of the Michael Jordan autos out of 23? I don't know the answer. Adam is nodding. JP says MJ versus Gretzky multiplier. Okay, we did that one. I'm sorry about that. Keeping on going. C. Blaise, is it also the first time ever a jersey card was in any product ever? That was 1996, Chad, was the first time we saw jersey cards, at least in hockey. I believe they came out the next year in baseball. Like the Griffey jersey is, I believe, in 97, where but Gretzky didn't have one in 96. He was not in the jersey set in 96. He didn't have his first jersey card until 97. Someone please correct me if I'm remembering that wrong, though. Jay Mollico says Jordan is more global and his brand helps a lot. Yes, 100% agree with those comments. Jameson says it's not just the demand, it's those willing to pay $1 million for a card compared to Wayne. The number shrinks tremendously at that level. Yeah, however, we've seen a Gretzky rookie sell for $1 million at least 3 or 4 times now. I don't know how many Jordan cards we've seen sell for more than $1 million. Adam, I mean, the jersey auto, is that the only one?
The jersey, I think that's the only one. I mean, the green, if it sold today, would be well into the millions. But gosh, I think you're right, Jeremy. I think the only Jordan we've seen sell in the millions is the game jersey autograph. I think that's the only one.
Yeah. So in reality, maybe there's been more times have people spent $1 million or more on a Gretzky card than they have on a Jordan card, which again speaks to just the collectability, the investability, the importance of Wayne Gretzky and his rookie card.
I would say this. I think given what the basic analysis we've done in this chat on this, I don't think it makes any sense that it's 40x.
It doesn't. I don't think so either. I just think that Jordan collectors are bored, and I mean this with the utmost, this is a compliment, and I count myself among them. Not at that level. Jordan collectors are bordering insane a lot of the time. And by that, I just mean I'm friends with a lot of them. Jordan collectors are insane for Jordan cards. I don't know that Gretzky collectors are quite as insane for Gretzky cards. So
let me, and I promise this will be the last thing I say on this. One thing that we have not touched on nearly enough in this conversation is 23 versus 99. The fact that there are 23 of the Jordan versus 99 of the Gretzky should change our math. I still don't think it should be 40x. I don't, but I can tell you this, in the world of Jordan inserts and parallels, it is so much harder to get a card in that 20 range than it is in the 100 range. You're going to find the cards that are in 100 range fairly often. The ones that are really low numbered, I mean super low numbered like that, they never pop up for sale.
And yeah, Nick Martelli made that comment just now as well, or not just now. He made that 3 minutes ago. Thanks for that, Nick. Justin Bode would agree with 25 times, because so if there's a quarter of the amount of Jordan autos as Gretzky's in that 23 versus 99 comparison, we're saying 6 to 1 is the proper multiplier, but that's apples to apples. If now you've got a quarter of them, it should almost be 6 times 4 is 24. Maybe the differential there should be 24 times. So what is $1 million divided by 24? It's about 40 grand or so, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. So maybe it's appropriately priced at 25 to 50 grand, the Gretzky. Are you contemplating that? I mean, that might be
that makes, I think that does make sense to me. And so when we reference it back to this duel that we were looking at, to bring it full circle, this is a second year card, as the poster mentioned. It's the third one, but it's the second year. Go, for anybody who's looking, go look at the population on that. And I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. It's a rare card.
Good. Chad, yes, you look, yeah. Gretzky wasn't in 96. He was in 97. Jameson said, oh, many exquisite Logoman Jordans have sold over 1 million privately. So that's a great point. That's something that we didn't consider just now. So thanks for that, Jameson. Very astute point and very necessary for the discussion. And Vintage Card Collector lets us know that the clock is getting close when it's counting down. So again, if there is not a bid on any card for any 1 minute period, the auction will end. But as we're watching the ticker here at the top of the PWCC Premier Auction website, we are seeing that the bids, are coming in kind of fast and furious still.
Are you behind, Jeremy? Do you need to refresh?
Let me unshare my screen and do a quick refresh. It might slow me down for a minute here, but let's see what happens. And yeah, Mollico says only 2 PSA 10 O-Pee-Chees, and that's, back to the rookie card talk. Mollico says, imagine if Michael Jordan only had 2 PSA 10 Fleers. Like, yeah, imagine that. That'd be 8 figures easy.
What does the BGS 10 do? Like, that's it's out there.
There's a BGS 10 out there. What would that sell for? And the one thing I'll say about that is you have to consider that of the 320 PSA 10s, 1 or 2 or 3 of those are probably BGS 10s also. They're just not in that holder now yet or ever, but there's probably more BGS 10 quality Jordan rookies that exist. They just haven't ended up in that slab for one reason or another, but something to consider. But yeah, Karn makes a great point. What would that sell for? And also, what if there were only 2 of them, 2 PSA 10 Jordan rookies? What would those sell for? What's going on, Adam? You're deep in thought there.
Well, I was watching the timer for just a second because Alex mentioned that it's gotten close, and it just got under 30 seconds again. And so the math that I'm sort of doing in my head is when we normally get done with a show, when the auction normally ends, and the fact that we have 30% less, it's sort of making me wonder if we're going to see, I don't know, if we might see it end a little bit early tonight.
Well, I was thinking about that earlier when I was talking to my wife about what's happening tonight in our household. And I said, well, the show usually goes for about 3 to 3.5 hours. So we'd be done my time, maybe 10:45, which is, 9:45 Pacific. And then I thought, well, but there is 35% fewer lots. So maybe we're going to finish 15, half an hour, 45 minutes earlier than before. I don't know that that's the case, though. I don't know how much that really matters. Does it, is it going to have that sort of an impact on the time? Look at the clock right now, though.
Do it again. Yeah. And
Karn's over there. 10 seconds.
Karn's over there bidding on 10 cards right now at the same time, which is a hard thing to do, Jeremy.
Well, I mean, I'm just, there's a bid, and we're going to reset back to a minute here.
But Jeremy, look, there's probably not that many. I don't think we're too far away. Is my thought. I bet you we're not too far away right now.
I think we're getting close to, but you never know. A couple more comments though here, guys. Nick Martelli here says, I think more Gretzky collectors would rather have his rookie in a highest grade instead of his autos, but I could be wrong. I think that's true like half of the time, Nick. I don't know that it's true more, but pretty much everybody wants, yeah, you might be right. I think everybody wants his rookie card if you collect rookies. But an interesting comment. Mid-Atlantic says, I guess no one wants to discuss the fact that 3 of the most recognizable cards in the hobby, being the 1980 Ricky Henderson, the 2004 Messi, and the 86 Fleer Michael Jordan rookies continue to sell for less money than they previously did. So let's just take a quick scroll down to the Jordan, because we have a Jordan rookie on this first page, I believe. There it is. It's sitting right now at $168,000. You notice 140 plus 20% buyer's premium is $168,000. And I haven't looked closely at this copy, But let's have a look at this copy. I did take its image so that we could do this. So why don't we do that, fellas, on the screen and ladies and gentlemen in the chat. So here's the card right here. And again, first glance, I'm going to kind of sit back a little bit to gauge the centering left to right. I do think that it's off-centered slightly to the left, slightly, like a degree. It just looks like these borders are a little bit wider than these ones. Edges and corners. Oh, let me just look at top to bottom. Top to bottom looks pretty bang on. I think it's tough to see with these the ridge and the slab down here if that's kind of throwing me off a bit, but top to bottom looks good. Let's get into the card itself here. So you've got some edge surface wear up at the top here. Corner looks nice. These fibers sticking out that you're seeing, I call that fray. Doesn't offend me at all. Just personally, fray extending out of the card doesn't bother me. But this top edge seems to be less than perfect. I don't think that's the light shining on the card, although it might be, but I don't think it might actually be. You know, I got to be careful here because you look at the rest of the card, that just might be the light is really bouncing off the fibers in the cardboard. You come down below this level here to where my mouse is now across, and you don't notice it. That could actually be the light. And I've learned more about light in recent months and how light photographs cards, and that's why I'm pointing it out and kind of wondering. I don't want to mislead, at all. So I just want to call that out. This edge looks good, little rough right there, but nothing too bad that is really going to detract from the grade, I don't think. Bottom right corner looks good. Little rough cut right there seems to be, that's definitely not a lighting issue. You come across the bottom edge looks good until you get to here and you see that same issue. You don't see it over here. I can't tell if that's PSA slab or what's going on there, but so I'm just going to leave that. But left edge looks good. I like a little bit of fray, as I mentioned. Zooming out surface-wise, I don't know what's going on right here. Maybe a light surface scratch. That right there, if that is not on the slab, but it might be on the slab though, kind of looks like it's a plastic scratch. I can't really tell. Can you guys tell? Does that look to be on the card or on the slab itself?
I'd be shocked if it was on the card, being a PSA 10, but can't really tell from the picture.
We're zoomed in so far that but I agree. It looks, from that view, it looks like a slab thing.
Yeah.
And you have the same sort of effect going on. It does look like it's on the slab to me. This part right here looks like a slab scratch versus a card scratch to me. Could be wrong, not certain. And it's actually unfortunate that these are here, because if anyone bidding thinks that it's on the card when in fact it's on the slab, that might keep some people from bidding on the card, because it is noticeable. I mean, I noticed that right away. But outside, if we're going to assume that that's on the slab and not on the card, as Karn said, no, it likely wouldn't be a PSA 10 if that was on the card. Overall, it looks like it's a 10 to me. I have no issues saying that this wouldn't be a 10 from the front of the card, unless those are on the card. If those scratches are on the card, then this is certainly overgraded, in my opinion. If not, then it isn't. But it looks like a fair PSA 10 copy. There's the reverse, slight centering issue, a little bit to the right, a little bit low. But again, with intolerances for the reverse of a card, nothing jumps out at me print quality wise on there, or condition. Really tough to really judge the edges on this white bordered reverse. But to me, it's a nice card. Nice card overall. No real complaints with that one as a PSA 10. So back to the purpose though, it's sitting right now at 140,168. As Mid-Atlantic said, the last few I think have been doing right around 180 plus BP, so right around 204. This one seems to be about $40,000 behind right now. I like that PWCC calls out right here, graded at the 2022 National Convention. So that's kind of neat to know. I don't know that it adds value, but it's neat to know. So
I think it's I think it's neat to know because I think that would make it the newest PSA 10 Jordan in existence. That's kind of cool.
And so, I mean, we were at 316. What is that? What are we at now? 318, 319, 320 of them?
I think we were at 318 for a long time, and we're at 319 now, if I'm not mistaken.
319. So pretty cool. Pretty cool for sure. The Ricky, so Mid-Atlantic also called out the Ricky Henderson and the Messi. And, you know, those are cards that I just don't follow closely to know what they've done. But, you know, I'd be happy. Do we have either of those on this front page? I'm just going to make sure.
Well, on the Messi, I can speak to the Messi because I was picking up the Messis in like 2019, 2020. And I can say it wasn't really that big of a card then, and it wasn't really considered an iconic or recognizable card even just 2.5 years ago. I was picking them up for, I think, 3K or 4K in BGS 9.5s. So I think that card is still doing pretty well considering a lot of other cards are hitting pre-COVID prices or close to. Well, that card is still significantly higher than it used to be. So just add that in there.
We talk about this a lot, where your frame of reference has to do with what period you're looking at, and a lot of times people are looking at it from the last 12 months. And the market's down over the last 12 months. But if you look at it, if you zoom out a little bit, sometimes you might sort of realize what Karn's saying here, which is, hey, I've got a card here that you're still worth a multiple of what I was paying for just a couple of years ago. So just matters what time frame you're looking at.
The time frame and horizon exactly. I'll just speak quickly to the Mike Trout, his Topps update, PSA 10. You know, I bought my copy of that in like 2017 for $300 at the National. The guy had stacks of them. A couple of years later, he had them at $900. I thought, I'm glad I bought mine for $300. Then it went up to like $5,000. Now it's down to like $1,500 or so. And so listen, for me, think about my perspective. I'm still going to 5 times my money on that card if and when I sell it from $300 to $1,500, let's say. But I'm also getting a third of what I could have got if I sold it at its peak, a year ago. So what's the right way to look at it? Am I losing 2/3 of the value, or am I up 500%? I'm going to choose to being up 500% because I wasn't looking to sell the card back when it was worth $4,500, $5,000. I have this 25-year horizon kind of outlook for my card. So, like you said, all comes down to timeline. Karn, I'm sorry, you were going to jump in there.
Yes, sorry, but yeah, like soccer was a little bit different than everything else even 2 years ago, because like that Messi card, that rookie mega cracks, it was like $2,000 for like 10 years. Like it was legitimately just like didn't go up in value, didn't go down in value. It was the only card in soccer people were really buying. And no one was looking at it as an investment. Everyone kind of looked the other way as soccer as a genre in sports cards. So it was like kind of this like very niche and out of left field even purchase when I was buying them in 2019, which is not that long ago. So yeah, for me, it's the Messi is a little bit different than the rest of the iconic cards. But yeah, it's definitely become iconic and recognizable now. But before, no one used to talk about it at all.
So thanks for that, Karn. Here's SGC 10, Ricky Henderson. I don't know if there's also a PSA 10 in this auction. Do either of you? You don't think so, Adam? So it's
that would be a huge deal if there was.
Yeah, I mean, this card, the centering top to bottom looks to me, is it off, or is it a little bit low, or is that the way it's meant to be? It seems low to me, centered low on the card, but outside of that, I mean, you also cannot compare. Unfortunately, you just can't compare an SGC 10 to a PSA 10. The market doesn't look at them the same way, so it's tough to really do that. But this might be one of the biggest steals in the auction if you think you could cross it over to a PSA 10 if that's something that you would want to do. So I don't know, but I love this card. I love the Henderson rookie, by the way. It's one of the first vintage, air quote, vintage baseball cards I ever bought. I bought my rookie in Los Angeles in April of '91. I bought my Ricky Henderson rookie at an LCS in LA on my way home from Australia. So I have good memories of this card. And I had it graded later. I think it came back as a PSA 8. Anyway, I love the card for that reason. I'm going to go to some comments, guys. Let's just hover around the top here. Ooh, look at the clock. Oh, it's going to reset now, though. We've had a bid, so the clock is about to reset at 60 seconds. There it is, 53. A couple of comments have come in. Chad Blez is looking at that Luka Doncic jersey, really likes it, thinks it's unbelievable. Vintage Card Collector says the PWCC Premier Auction format is the best. The old school auction houses go into the wee hours of the morning. Yeah, this one is definitely a lot of fun to follow. Ranchi says Tom Brady cards are taking a serious beating as well, just brutal. Not compared to 2019, though, but compared to 2021, yes, just like a lot of big cards have come down in value. And I think we're finding our new stability. Nick Martelli says, I wonder if we'll see a rise in more worn jerseys with autos sell more frequently after seeing that Luka price. I don't think I read that one properly. Jordan Riker says, how are your auctions doing, Karn?
They're still battling some things in my head about a few, and it's I got a couple of more minutes, I think, to make a decision, so we'll see. I'll definitely recall it at the end here.
Sorry for distracting you. Get back to work, please. Because I say that tongue in cheek because I am sorry to distract him. It's how we're gonna enjoy the results of his bidding is going to be worth sacrificing his talking right now. So get back to work, Karn. It's all good.
And when you're in I know both of you guys have been in this situation where you're just in a mind spiral of like, should I do it? Should I like stay and like wait another month or 2 months? I'm like in one of those situations. I'm just like Googling every single like last bit of a card and trying to figure out if I want to do it or not. And yeah, we'll see if I do.
Well, I love that's such a cool thing to share with us or just interesting because I wonder we've got over 160 people watching with us right now. And again, welcome everybody. Glad to have you. And I wonder how many of those people are going through the same thing you're going through right now, Karn. How many of them are they have us on in the background for additional entertainment while they are making bids and deciding. I can't wait until it's over. I want to hear from all of you guys out there that are doing that. And I know that there's some of you because I've had, I've seen just from some private chats, I know some people are bidding on auctions tonight. So I'm curious to hear how that's going. Mid-Atlantic agrees with the time frame of reference. Yes, very important part of and analyzing values. Goes on to say, as long as the current trend is clearly and consistently down, it's a good time to sit on the sidelines. The thing is that you don't know. How can you can only say clearly and consistently in hindsight. You just don't know where things are going to go tomorrow, even tonight. So I hear what you're saying, Mid-Atlantic. You just got to go with your gut. And I think that's what you're getting at and just looking at the data. And then as things start, because it is cyclical, we are in a cycle no matter when we are. And as soon as the values maybe start coming up a little bit, that might be when you want to get back into buying, because what's next? Continuing to go up might be what follows. Adam, you want to jump in?
Oh, I'm just sort of watching the ticker and watching some of the bidding wars that are happening. We've seen this quad patch auto, this NFL quad shield auto pop up multiple times, but the Joe Burrow especially, there's two guys that are just going back and forth on it. It's just fun. It's the thing. One of the reasons that I love the Premier Auction is that you're seeing these bids at the end, and people are having this moment that Karn just really described extremely well, where you're going. It happened with me on the Mikan, a year ago, Jeremy, where I was like, I want it. Okay, I'll hit the bid, and then we saw it get outbid, and it's just fun to watch.
It is. It's always fun to watch. Here's some interesting back and forths about the Messi card. It's over. It's over. It's not over. They tricked us again.
It's not over.
Yeah, because on my end, I'm like, I don't think it's over yet. So
it's when it says updating and it spins, that's when sometimes it's over. Okay, so I'm gonna go to this. There's some nice back and forth here between Nick Martelli and Mid-Atlantic. Martelli says here that Messi cards will skyrocket if he wins the World Cup on Sunday, while Mid-Atlantic then says, no, people are ready to dump Messi if they win the World Cup. So I'm going to go first on this, and then Adam and Karn, if you guys could jump in. So I'm siding on this more with Mid-Atlantic. I think that if Martelli is right and the values go up on Sunday if he wins for that day, it's going to be very, very, very short-lived. Very short-lived. Because as Mid-Atlantic astutely points out, I think people have been loading up on soccer cards for the last couple of years for this World Cup. And if Messi wins, and they do experience an increase in value, they're going to get, the market will be flooded with them, and that will just increase supply, which will, simple supply and demand. There's going to be not enough bidders out there, or too much supply for the bidders. So I don't know though. He's a GOAT. He's an all-time great. It's a tough card. That card in particular, his rookie, might be the one that kind of doesn't have that impact. It might, listen, it's going to go up, and it's already gone up. It's going to go up. It's going to come down a bit, but it might not come down as much as some other soccer cards. That's for sure. Sorry, not the clearest of thought right there, but I think that it's almost a Super Bowl effect. Look what happened to Mahomes cards after he won the Super Bowl. They came down in value. A lot of the value is in the run-up. A lot of the value is right now. Right now, the last week, this week, the next couple of days. So thoughts on that, Adam?
Yeah, I have thoughts on this. I wish that every card had a rating for whether people want to own it in the long term or not. Because what every card needs is an end user. A card needs somebody who wants to own it. And I don't have my finger on the pulse of soccer, specifically Messi, enough to have any idea whether the people who are holding those cards are holding them because they want to own them or because they're speculating on them. Cage from Luca Tiger Bronze did a very controversial post on this idea. And I don't know if he's right or not. I don't know if why people are holding them is just because he's going to maybe win during the World Cup. I have no clue. What I do know is that when we see what after the game happens, we'll sort of get an idea of why people are holding the cards. If we see a lot of them unleashed into the wild, then you'll know that people were just speculating to make money. And for me, I don't live in those areas. I like to buy the cards that people want to own in the long term. That to me is far more interesting than the short term.
Karn, do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, so it's funny because I typically subscribe to a championship is going to result in a market dump and prices will go down. However, with Messi and soccer, it's a little bit more difficult for me to say. It very well could be the same case, but Leo Messi getting this World Cup is like Gretzky going without a Stanley Cup for 20 years. And in 1999, he gets his first one. You know what I mean? That's like kind of how big this is for Messi. That's kind of the one piece of hardware. Well, he's got other things he's missing, but the World Cup is the number one thing anyone wants on a resume. He's considered the greatest of all time, and he has a chance of winning that this weekend, and that's pretty crazy. So, and to add on top of that, there's not a lot of Messi cards out there, low population. So it's like a lot of the cards are, from Spain, regional releases. So you might not even have a market dump more than there is one right now already. So it's a lot more interesting than the typical, I think, what we all subscribe to typically. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, if he wins the World Cup, it's definitely going to be huge just for soccer fans in general, because that guy winning a World Cup is going to be the biggest thing. Have you guys seen that video of like 50,000, 100,000 people in Argentina chanting Messi's name, going wild when they won that match last game? So it's going to be crazy.
Good comments. Good comments for sure. Yeah, we'll have to we'll wait and see what happens with it. Lots of comments in the chat though, and I want to get to them because there's some really good stuff here. Brendan Ryan says to the moon for Messi, followed by an abrupt dead cat bounce. Maybe not. Maybe it's, we'll see. Justin Bode says, I think soccer cards come down enough on. I think the soccer cards came down enough on Messi. Vintage Card Collector says the Messi case is interesting because this is probably his last chance at a World Cup, different than Curry, Mahomes, who can win more titles. This could go either way. I think that makes sense to me. Martelli says another thing is he's in the twilight of his career, and with a rumored move to the MLS, it can cause his cards to go up due to coming stateside as well. Great comments. But here's the one I like the most. No offense to any others. I think they're all good. Cardboard Richard says, buy the rumor, sell the news. If good news is expected sometime in the future, the price will often move higher in anticipation of that date, but not necessarily after. I completely believe I believe in that comment. Adam thinks the auction is over. Karn is not telling us otherwise.
Seems like it's done.
Yeah, I think it's done.
I'm not going to believe it until
that was abrupt.
Well, that Mahomes was like keeping it alive for the last 20 minutes. I feel like
it's over.
Or not Mahomes.
We've got sold for prices down here, guys, and it's refreshing. I might lose my. No, we're good. So it is over. The auction is over. The last card to get a bid was a Patrick Mahomes. Pretty cool. And yeah, that's the end of the auction. Okay, goodbye, everybody. All right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go back to page 1 here so we can see the top sellers. But I want to continue this discussion for a moment about the Messi card, because we've got some great commentary in the chat. We're going to hear from Karn as well, what success he had, if any. And but again, back to Cardboard Richard's comment here, guys. Yeah, I think that we talk about baked in, a value being baked in due to players winning championships or what have you. And I think that's a big part of it. Even the fact that the World Cup was occurring and Messi had a chance to win, there's value being baked in just for that. Mid-Atlantic here says that Messi owners are a mix of collectors and dealers speculating starting a year or two ago, as I believe. Many of the speculators are underwater and anxious to dump his cards.
That's true.
I think that's a very, very valid point right there. Goes on to say, similar to when Nathan McKinnon, when the Colorado Avalanche were expected to win, his values went up, but his cards dumped when he won the cup.
Jeremy, I'll say one guy that didn't subscribe to though, and that's Ovechkin. When Ovechkin won his cup, that's when his cards exploded in value. But that's probably the only guy that I've seen where it was an explosion the day after. Literally, no one wanted Ovechkin cards. He won the cup. Everyone wanted Ovechkin cards. So that's the only one. But I agree on McKinnon. That's exactly what happened. Yeah, fair comments and very good. Stephen Pogling said that used to be my Mahomes, got killed. Sorry to hear. CS had another big win in the PWCC Premier. Congratulations, CS. Love to hear what it was. Soccer Card says that Karn made great points. There aren't that many Messi cards. If there is a dip, there will be lots of buyers. That's great to hear. So, that dead cat bounce might not be quite as severe as, what you expect with that to happen. So let's have a look at what these big cards sold for on this first page, at least. And then, Karn, will you share with us what you were up to tonight? Yeah, right. Sure.
Let's have a look at these first. So the contenders, Brady does 660. The Wilt PSA 9 does 252. I think that's quite a bit less than maybe expected. Somebody got a steal on this LeBron James RPA at 528. I wouldn't have been surprised if that hit $1 million. The Gretzky did 144, so higher than the last few that have sold. But I think just based on how nice it was, maybe that blemish on the back stopped it from going any higher. Mahomes RPA does 204. The Jeter continues to decline in value, down to 204. 180 on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic. Ja Morant RPA does 240. We've got a Herbert here, 132,000. The Luka jersey does 108. The gold Ronaldo Messi duel out of 10 does $41,000. 265 on a Steph Curry RPA. A really old 1921 Babe Ruth card does 53,000. Brady ticket does 420. So we had two Bradys in this, didn't we? We had two. 660 for the PSA 8 and 420 for the BGS 7 with a 9 auto. Luka RPA does 168. Kevin Durant does 102. That seems a little bit low for, I think, from what we had been seeing. The gold, there you go, Karn. The gold LeBron refractor Topps Chrome does 228. How do you feel about that?
Well, if you go just BGS 9 comparable to BGS 9 and it went for 230, that would probably put me ahead on that deal by quite a bit. So yeah, I don't want to say I'm happy to see it low, but yeah, it was good for my mindset at least.
Did you? So one of the differences is that yours was 50 of 50. This is around, I think, 21 or something like that. So I don't, that shouldn't really be, a $70,000 or $50,000 difference. But does that mean anything to you when you're assessing the values?
Yeah, I think there's a slight premium there, but yeah, completely agree. I think it would top out at maybe like a 5% bump for me, but even that's probably being generous.
That's 10 grand. So, just over 10 grand. The Jordan does 168. So that is that a new low in the last couple of years? I'm not sure. I think there was one that did like 130 not too long ago on.
Yeah, there's two or three have done less than that recently. But
on other platforms. Yeah. So there we go. There's the first page. I do love this card, the LeBron Ultimate Collection numbered out of, I think that's out of 250, right? Yeah. What a great looking card that is. So there's the first page. Karn, let's hear from you though. What were you doing tonight while you were so busy? What cards were you looking at?
So, okay, number one, I was considering buying back the gold refractor. I put in a $204,000 bid. So I did lose that one by a bid or two there. I figured, hey, look, if I trade it out of the card, I can buy it back at 200. Why not? But I decided to shy away from it. The second card I was looking at, I don't know if you guys have spoken about it, but I love this card personally. It's the 2003 SP Authentic LeBron James PSA 10 with a 10 auto. That card is just such a tough card to get in a PSA 10 grade, and the auto on that is obviously a tough auto to get in a 10 grade as well. There's only 500 copies, and I love that it's kind of akin to a Future Watch auto in hockey cards. It's kind of like what a Future Watch auto is. So I always love picking up this card. So I always do here and there. However, this is the mind spiral I was in. The LeBron RPA ending at that price made me a little shy to press the button to win the card. So that's kind of where my head was at. I got a little, that RPA at 528. It's looking like a pretty big steal in my opinion. A 3-color BGS 9, and yeah, if that's an indicator of LeBron James cards, maybe I'm a little worried about winning one right now, but that could change in the next week or two.
This night, based on what you said, the RPA, this SPA, even this card here looks low at 36,000 in a BGS. Not well, the autograph is faded, so maybe not. I'll take that back on this card. I just realized that, but tonight might have been the best time to buy these cards like ever. Moving forward.
Yeah. Look, this LeBron Ultimate is lower than it is pre-COVID right now. Like I was looking at that card at 60K before the spike in sports cards. So look, we might be hitting a point where LeBron James cards might be overcorrecting. I'm gonna wait and see because I've spent a lot of. It's not like that. I'm not spending money on LeBron James. I've spent a lot in the last couple of weeks. So now it's just like, they're getting interesting again, but I'm going to sit back and just be patient, pick my spots. But look, I don't know. They look like they're hitting pretty attractive prices.
528 for that exquisite is that's really surprising to me too. That's what the market's bearing right now. We were surprised, Jeremy, when a few months ago Josh Dawson's copy went for, do you remember, was it 850 or 9?
Yeah, it was 8 something. Yeah.
And we're talking about a similar card that sold today for 60% of that. And so it surprises me. I mean, I know he's gone down a lot, but that surprises me and went that low.
Let me go to some comments quick here. Michael Padilla, I want to congratulate you on grabbing the Babe Ruth Leaf card tonight. Happy to add that to the Ruth collection. Congratulations. That's a beauty. And actually here, let me just let's have a look at that for Michael Padilla, because that is a card where I did grab the image, so I would have to dive into the listing itself. So there it is right there. Oh. Congratulations to you, Michael. That's a beautiful card. I love 48 Leaf cards, every card in the set. So that's awesome. What a great image of Babe Ruth. Congratulations to you on that one. Love it. Stephen Pocklington, thank you for the comments. Glad to have you. Congratulate. I got ahead of myself there. I want to go back to right here. CS won the 1980 Wayne Gretzky card. Congratulations to you, CS. We got a couple of Molico's congratulating you. So is Justin Bode, and so is Stephen Pocklington. Very good. Congrats on that. That was a really nice card. We took a good look at it too, so I'm glad you made the play. Curious if us looking at it had anything to do with you buying that CS. Did us looking at that have anything to do with you buying that? Let us know. I'm just curious. Anything else, Karn, that was going on with you in the biddings tonight?
Do you guys ever have post-auction mind spiraling? Because that's what I'm doing now. Because it's like, should have bought one of these cards. Obviously, I always talk about how much I want a LeBron RPA, and it's just like, is there ever going to be a time to get another copy at this price? We don't know. It could go either way, but it seems super attractive. And obviously, it's a big, obviously being Canadian as well, we got to take in consideration so many different things. And it was hard to make a decision so quickly on something like that. But that seems like such a great price for a LeBron James RPA. And now I'm just going to be probably up for 2 hours just looking at LeBron James RPA prices and forums talking about the card, and just spiral away.
Well, I think the question is, what does that do to the people that are holding the card? Are they now going to say, well, hold on, I'm not going to sell the next one for something, so I'm going to hold on? And that's what they should. I believe that's what they should do. I mean, listen, I don't know everyone's financial situation, but if you don't need the money, I think now you got to sit on it and don't just leak them into the market, because increased supply, the prices will come down. That's how economics works, how markets work. So, it might be several months before we see another one hit the market, because people don't want to risk setting that low record. So for you, Karn, I mean, you may not get a chance to buy another one for a long time, but also we don't know what this guy's high bid was. You may not have got it for $650. You might not have got it for $700. He might have been willing to pay, he or she may have been willing to pay $800 for it, like the last one, and you just would have bid him up, is what could have happened. So we just don't know that.
Yeah,
right?
Very true. And to put it in a little context there, 3 years ago, December 5th, 2019, a pretty much one color BGS9 did $230,000 3 years ago. So this, that's only like a 2.5x in 3 years of what's happened in the sports card industry. And that was a one color. So this was a pretty, decent 3 color patch there. So congratulations to the winner there. I think you're sitting happy today.
Well, I mean, you just saved $300,000 compared to the last one. And so I think so too. I just want to quickly thank you. Michael Padilla says, great show tonight. I was watching and bidding all night. Well, that's what we want to hear. Love it. Thanks for being with us, Michael Padilla.
Karn, let me ask, because I might have missed, I might have not heard right. Were you considering bidding on the LeBron RPA? And if so, did you have a bid in early on, so you would have been able to bid and extended?
Yeah, so I did have a bid early on, I think at like 300K, something like, obviously I was not going to win it at, but I was closer than I thought, that's for sure. But yeah, I had a few calls about this card today, and I pretty much either needed someone to buy a few big cards for me or partner up with me on buying the card. That's kind of where I'm at on it, because I got a few things in my near-term future that I have to be, I'm very risk adverse. So I had to make sure that I had the money, but I definitely was thinking about it. And it was one of those things where I made the calls and couldn't get to that situation where I could make the bid. So definitely didn't do it, but I wish I could have convinced someone to either take one of my cards or partner up with me. But yeah, it looks great. It looks like a great win for the winner there.
No doubt, no doubt. For anyone who's kind of not maybe joined us, we're talking about this card right here, the LeBron James 2003 Exquisite Rookie Patch Auto, on-card auto, BGS 9 mint condition card, sold for $528,000. And believe it or not, we think that is a steal for this card overall. So yeah, pretty nuts. Here, let's
for me, that's like the end game card for me. Like I've always that was my number one. I want that card. So hopefully one day in the future we get there. It's gonna be a big deal for me. So yeah, end game card.
The type of cards that you deal in, I mean, I would have to think that you're it's going to happen for you one day. You'll trade up into it at one point if it is your true grail or end game card.
I would guess though. So this is the very interesting sort of situation we find ourselves in. There's more than one person like Karn out there right now whose eyebrows sort of got raised and interest sort of got piqued by this price tonight, because moving from $1 million to $500,000 opens the world, opens for a lot of people the ability to possibly get into a card like that. There's a lot of people out there. It sounds crazy because to a lot of us, it's an insane amount of money, but there are people out there who can go get a $500,000 LeBron card who can't get $1 million LeBron card. And if that's the case, then, and there's more people like Karn, then the next time we see a card like this, maybe it doesn't quite go as low. And that's why I think Karn said at the beginning, like, am I going to get to see one at this price again, especially one of that quality? I think that's a good question.
Yeah, and look, if I was confident in some of the cards I had right now in my possession that I could get full value for them, if I were to, auction them next month, I would win that LeBron right now. But the thing is, you got to, be risk adverse and, be conservative and understand, like, look, maybe things don't go your way. They go for like 60% of what you paid for them, or 30% of what you paid for them. And then now you're stuck in a different pickle. So yeah, there's a lot of considerations that go into buying such a big card. And I think that's probably what happened for a lot of people and for this card today. A lot of people are probably just like, look, it's the holidays, it's 2023 is just about to begin, and you probably think about selling your cards right now, and maybe you weren't considering buying a huge card, but then something like that happens and you're like, maybe I should have considered buying a big card today. So yeah, a lot of considerations obviously when dealing in a card that size.
Well, CS responded to your comment saying, to answer your question, Karn, I always have post-auction spiral. Whether I win or lose, always feels unsettling for a few days. Well, when the money becomes like extremely significant, like the Premier Auction kind of money, I can understand that. Anytime you're spending money that is meaningful to you on a sports card, which you can't eat it, you can't sleep in it, you can't wear it. You've got to you got to think about it. These are significant expenses for sure. Page 2, I'm just going to kind of scroll through, pick on a couple of them. The Luka RPA PSA 9 does $96,000. Michael Jordan. This is a pretty popular ticket. The season ticket autograph does 78 and a BGS 9 with a 10 autograph. That's a pretty cool looking card. I like the full. I really like that card, actually. I think it's really cool. Here in the next row, the usual suspects. You got the Trey, you got the Mahomes, Anthony Edwards. We got the LeBron SP Authentic rookie that Karn really liked at $48,000. Mahomes National Treasures RPA at a 25 does 45,600. That seems just low compared to what these cards have been selling for back in the day, but maybe it's not low for December 2022. Here's a Jordan BGS 9.5 limited logos does $28,800. 2005. Not the prettiest patch, but still a 2-color patch out of 50. Adam, how do you feel about that price at $28,800?
In general, I feel the same way about a lot of the stuff that's up right now. It feels like it's just so much less than it was. Feels like the market's really settled. This Jordan's a great example of that. It's not my favorite year of limited logos. It's not the best patch. It's also not the best auto. I don't know if the autograph's graded a 10 or not, but look, it's a gem mint. It's a gem mint limited logos Jordan. If I remember right, there's like 400 total or 300 and something total limited logos cards of Michael Jordan across all the years. 29 grand for a gem mint does feels like a really good price to me.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, for sure. And then you've got this card here. It's from 03 Exquisite, but it's the scripted swatches, which I don't like as much. I'm not a huge fan of autographs on the patch itself. I prefer the auto on the card, but it sold for 12,000 more than this one did. That surprises me too. Maybe this autograph isn't perfect, and I'm just not going to go right into it right now. I love this card here. Absolutely, this is if Karn's end game card is the LeBron rookie patch auto, mine is the Jordan tribute rookie patch auto. I love this card, and would like to own one of these one day. Beautiful. There's a Tom Brady Bowman Chrome Refractor BGS 9 does $30,000. That seems to be a nice price for that. I love this card. Just the aesthetics of this, the color match, the red foil to the red jersey out of 15, 41,000 on that. Patrick Mahomes. The Ricky does 32,000. This is a really rare Jordan 97 insert parallel. PSA 9 does 53,000. Josh Allen RPA does $102,000. So Josh Allen now sells for more than Luka, right? The Luka up here, and I know they're different sport and everything, but Luka does 96. Apples to apples. Josh Allen does 102. That's a little bit surprising, is it not? That the football RPA of like maybe the top guy right now outsells the basketball RPA of maybe the top young guy. I'm not talking like no Steph Curry's or LeBron's. I'm talking about these guys from 2018 forward. What do you think, Adam? Does that surprise you?
I think that the reason for that is the 10-10 on the Josh Allen. I don't prescribe to this, but there are collectors that see that 10-10 and they pay so much more than if it was a 9-10. So I would say if it was the same grade, I think the Luka would still be quite a bit higher.
Yeah, no, very fair comment. Tatum does 8,400. 101. Oh, it's out of, what is this?
It's a black box. It's a black box.
Black box 101. Got it. Ultimate LeBron does 49.2. Herbert RPA at a 99 does 84,000. And this LeBron rookie year exquisite auto patch, which I do love this card outside of the faded auto, does $36,000. So great. I mean, listen, fun show. I feel like values weren't as high as some people are expecting or hoping for, but maybe that's the December effect. Maybe that's the general market effect going into 2023. We'll see what like we said at the beginning of the show, Adam, this is the last Premier Auction of 2022. The next one, I believe, will there be one in January? I got to think there will be a January Premier Auction. Let's see what happens then. I mean, it's things are ever changing. Could go down, could go up, could stay the same.
we said at the beginning of the show that there was a belief that stuff sold for less in December, and that in several years we've seen that that's proven to be false. Maybe the narrative at the end of this today, and from what we're seeing in some of the other auction houses, maybe the narrative is that this year that might actually be accurate. I know that it hasn't always been, but I guess it's easy to get caught up on a few sales. I need to go digest the whole of the auction to see how I feel about it. But we spent so much time talking about the LeBron that I think we all still have tethered in our mind as like an $800,000 to $1 million card. That I think before I say too much, I'd rather look at the whole of the auction to see how I really feel about it.
Fair enough. Jordan just wants to confirm with you, Karn, did you win anything tonight?
0 today. 0
today. And
which is like surprising, to be honest. I usually win one thing every month. So I guess I did it with the Stanley Cup hologram a couple of days ago. So
there you go.
Hey, Karn,
if you could, that was a weekly auction purchase on PWCC. Which was so funny, because I was talking all about that card on Instagram and TikTok and then you end up buying it. What's that, Adam? Sorry?
I was just gonna say, so Karn has talked a lot about the mind spiral. If you go back in time a half an hour, Karn, would you place a bid on any of those, or do you feel good about not bidding right now?
Like I said, post mind spiral. So now it's like, like you said, now you go back. I think this is something that everyone does. The day PWCC Premier comes out, you go and look at all the cards you're interested in. You put it in your, favorites list, or you make a little bid on it, so you're open to bidding later. And then, you go a few days without bidding on anything. You don't even look at it. And then when you're like 1 week away, you start, getting excited, and you're starting to look at where everything's placed. And then the day of is when things get crazy, and you're focused in on the cards you really want to buy. And then when you don't win, you spend the next 2 days looking at it and digesting it all and seeing where the cards went that you thought about bidding on, but maybe didn't bid on. And then you're like, oh, I should have probably bought that card. Maybe I should have bought that card. And then sometimes you use it as market research. Oh, Josh Allen cards are selling for that much now. Luka Doncic is on the low. So you start using those post-auction prices to kind of get in the mind frame of what's next, what's coming, what's the next trend coming up. How do I use this information to now navigate in a certain way? And like you said, January 2023, going to be a big market indicator of, look, new year, new me. Am I going to spend more money on cards or less? We'll see. So, but it's all about the market research and figuring it all out.
Not only new year, new me, but new taxation year as well. All right, that there can be some impact there as well. I want to bring up Toa Hang says, great show, guys. I'll be up the next couple of hours dreaming of the cards I wish I could buy. Yes, Toa. Brendan Ryan says, post FOMO anxiety. Yes, for sure. Justin Bode, thanks, Jeremy, Adam, and Karn. My birthday in 20 minutes. God bless the sports card hobby. Well, happy birthday to you, Justin Bode. Happy birthday to you, my guy. And then Stephen Pocklington says, curious your opinions on a special serial number, like a 1 of 100 championship ticket or jersey match cards. So, jersey numbered serial numbers, or the 50 of 50, the 1 of 50, the 1 of 100, the 100 of 100, those sorts of things. My thoughts, Stephen Pocklington, I like them. I'm a bit of a sucker for that. The premium I'm willing to pay for them is not nearly as much as how much I like them, because, I just don't know that the value is there, but I do put a premium on them. And it's more or less sort of where, I may not wait for the next copy. I may just grab that one because it's got a cool serial number. I like them. Adam, what about you?
I think that it depends on the card. I've told this story before. There was a specific rookie card that I wanted. I don't really go out after rookies that are like out of 99 very often, but there was a specific rookie card that I really wanted where I paid literally 15 times what the average copy went for because I needed the serial number version. And I know that sounds crazy, but for me, he didn't have any other main cards I wanted. I just wanted that one difficult chase card. And so in that case, I was willing to pay a ton, but in some cases, I just don't even care. So it just depends on the card.
Karn, how about you? You mentioned earlier on the LeBron James Topps Chrome Gold that you might give it a 5% premium. Is that standard for you?
Yeah, except for jersey number. I actually do really like jersey number. And for whatever reason, jersey number is much more sought after in hockey cards. Sometimes you get 2, 3x for a jersey number card in hockey. So yeah, definitely jersey number is huge for me. I do like the 1 out of 99 more than a 99 out of 99. Except if it's Wayne Gretzky, then it's a jersey number and at the end, and then it's even cooler. But yeah, definitely a slight premium on 1, and the last number, probably a huge premium on the jersey number.
Yeah, very good. Bloods, if you're still there, great to have you. Thanks for joining. All right, guys, you ready to wrap this up? Adam, you ready to wrap this up?
Talk for cards? No, I'm just kidding. We can wrap it.
You know it's my favorite night of the month. I'm really interested to see what the next premiere looks like, and I don't have any sense of what the size of it will be at this point, but it's always so much fun getting together with you guys. Jeremy, you just do an awesome job of hosting us, and the comments that we've had tonight we've had a couple of really cool conversations tonight. The Gretzky one, not a Gretzky OPG conversation, but the Gretzky autographed jersey conversation was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, that was fun for sure. Yeah, it's good stuff, and the chat was very on the ball tonight. Great comments, great input from that. So thank you to everybody who joined us tonight. If you're still here, we've still got over 110 people with us. So while it's at the end of the best part of the content, we got people still here. Justin Bode says awesome night. So let's see if the viewer count goes to below 100, we'll end this. Otherwise, let's keep talking cards. Let's keep talking cards and what's coming. Let's just actually, and I'm kind of half joking, but the PWCC Weekly, let's not forget about the weekly auction, because we get, Adam and I, Karn, we get so excited for the premiere, these big cards, that are supposed to be around that 20K level and up. However, Karn bought a beautiful card on the weekly this past Sunday, the Pro Set Stanley Cup hologram, which there's a whole thing. It led to me realizing that there was, before he bought it, I saw the card on the weekly, and I was like, wow, there's been a 5th PSA 8. There's one 8.5, because I knew there were 4 because I own one of the 8s. I see that there's now a 5th one. And I do a thing I do a short reel. I put up on TikTok. Somebody on TikTok, which I don't do TikTok, but I do now a little bit, writes and says, well, the one just sold for $185. So I went to eBay and look at it, and it was slabbed wrong. It was a actual 1991 75th anniversary hologram where the PSA slab said it was the 1990 Stanley Cup. So I put out another message on social saying, is the population mixed up? And I tagged PSA and Nat Turner. Nat responded saying, we're going to fix that on the back end. So the population went from a 4 to a 5 back down to a 4. And we didn't know that it came back down to a 4 until after the auction was over. And Karn happened to be the person to buy that card on PWCC's weekly. So Karn, when I then sent you a message saying, hey, did you see my post that is not a pop 5, it's now a pop 4, what was your response to my message to you when you learned that the card was even rarer than you thought it was?
Yeah, 2 things. So I didn't do like the research on the pop report that deeply, because I kind of, understood it from prior, but I thought there was a PSA 9 out there. So I thought the highest grade was a PSA 9. So having that conversation with you, I learned there was a PSA 8.5 and not a 9. And I got excited about that, because now my card is closer to being one of the best graded out there. And then you told me about the information that my pop went from a PSA, a pop 5 to a pop 4. And that got me even more excited. So 2 pieces of good information that usually don't happen. You don't usually see the pop of your card go down after you buy it. So
right.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And you kind of played a huge role in bringing that pop down. So yeah, I appreciate it.
Well, and let's face it, you and I own 2 of the 4 together. So together we have half of that population. The one PSA 8.5, which is the highest graded, there's no other 8.5s. I know who owns that card, and he's a pretty private guy. So I reached out to him, and he is not selling that card. He made it very clear to me the PSA 8.5 is not for sale for any number, he said. I mean, maybe he maybe for $500,000 or something, but I mean, he was like, it's not for sale. He said to me, no amount of money would replace the happiness I get from owning that card. So pretty firm owner. I like that. Those are what you call diamond hands. C. Blez says, I saw that, Jeremy. He being Nat Turner fixed it right away. That was awesome. Yes, that was awesome. I was really happy to see Nat and PSA quickly respond. And Nat went on, he really impressed me. He went on Twitter to actually shout out to the hobby and say, if there's any other population issues out there on cards, let me know on this Bird app and we'll see if we can fix them. And then a bunch of people responded. So I'm happy to have kicked off what might be some correcting on the PSA. It'll be minor as far as the overall incorrectness goes, but at least it's a step in some accuracy there. I think that's really cool. Chad says, and he offered that service with another tweet to all. Yeah, exactly, as I just mentioned. So definitely did that. We have Alex in the house. Nat fixed a couple of my cards right after. Thanks for getting the ball rolling. So yeah, I gotta say, I'm happy that happened. But listen, as much as people are thanking me, I gotta thank the guy on TikTok who I didn't know, who sent me the message saying one sold for $185 because I showed the PWCC one at 4,300, and the guy's like, well, one just sold for 185. I'm like, something doesn't sound right. So I thank that guy. I forget his name on TikTok. Not for him, this doesn't happen. And me and Karn think that there's still 5 of those out there. So pretty cool. Alf Gaudette says, after the last few weeks, damage control. Fair enough. Maybe he needs to do some damage control. And Justin says, not protecting the hockey side of things. At least the Pro Set Stanley Cup hologram. So yeah, that was great to see. Okay, we are at 98 people watching, so we're under 100. We're going to end this. I'm going to first thank you, Adam. Been my co-host on this for coming up on 2 years. Thanks for joining me, a great co-host, and adding some great introspective, especially that you work for PWCC. We get that added level of just information. Karn, always great to have you on the show. Thanks for joining. We'll definitely have you back again. Adam, final comment. I would start. Karn, final comments to you, and then Adam.
Yeah, it was a fun one, and it's actually just so exciting and fun just to speak with you guys about cards and enjoy the experience of the PWCC Premier that I usually have individually, being lonely in my office here. So it's super fun to interact with all the watchers and you two. It's honestly such a fun thing to do. So yeah, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You bet. And it's right back at you, Adam.
I feel the exact same way Karn does. It's so much fun, and Jeremy, you do a tremendous job of hosting it. So many comments, so many things happening, so many cards to look at. I wish we got to look at all of the cards. We probably viewed fewer than we could have, but we made it through a ton of them and had a blast doing it. The other thing that I would say is you guys are, two guys, Karn, super high end, but you're still looking at the weekly stuff. The weekly auction right now, there's so much going on in it. We have an average of about 10,000 items ending at auction every week. It's a staggering amount, staggering number of auctions. And so people are shocked that we have $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 items in the weekly. We have $5 items in the weekly. So if you haven't checked out the weekly auction before, the Premier's fun. It certainly gets the most eyeballs. But for most of us, the weekly is really like where you can actually afford some stuff and build your collection. So I would recommend everybody go check it out.
Yeah, I just want to add on to that for a second, Adam, because I looked at the weekly. I look at it a lot. But this week, last week, there are so many cards on the weekly that are, you said it really well, actually. You can build your collection. There are so many cards you can buy for, $10 to $50 that are going to, if you want to get a run of Wayne Gretzky O-Pee-Chees from the 80s or Nolan Ryan Topps cards from, 68 forward, you can find those cards on there in, not low grade, but maybe low grade too, but you can find them PSA 5s, 6s, 7s, and you want to build a run of a player, a Hall of Famer, that's where you can do it. And you're going to get that whole run for good value. So
Yeah, absolutely. And
I'm just
and I
pulling
would
that
say,
out randomly, but there's options there.
now let me add just one other thing real quick. I always moan and complain about how I wish I could bid on the Premier auction, right? I can't because I'm a PWCC employee and I talk about this a lot. The reality is I can't afford most of the stuff that's on the Premier. It's really rare for me to go into that world of spending. I really am sad that I don't get to bid on the weekly. The weekly is the best place to bid in the hobby right now. And I mean that. Like, there's deals to be had every week. There's great cards that fill holes in my collection all the time that are being sold. And I think, regardless of if you're somebody like Karn who's buying $100,000 cards or somebody who's buying, the lower end stuff, it really is, just like Justin Boat said, I don't want to say it's the best guess kept secret, because the number of bidders in that is like up and to the right. There's more bidders every week on that auction, and the stuff does well. But like, there are definitely good buys every week in the weekly. So definitely give that a shot for those of you who are still listening. If you haven't looked at it before, you're missing out if you're not looking at it.
All right. And with that, we are going to end this. So thanks everybody again. This was a lot of fun. Congratulations to all the buyers of the cards. Congratulations, I hope, to all the sellers of the cards. And with that, this episode is over, but I will be back on Saturday with a double header, and then again on Tuesday with a double header on the Sports Cards Live YouTube channel. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll see you again soon.